Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. And indeed, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everybody who's listening, whether it's January 2023 or whether you're listening to this in the far gone future. Maybe you found this podcast on some sort of audio device as you're perusing an open world post-apocalyptic landscape and you're collecting all the lore you can to fill in the blanks. We've got no answers, unfortunately. We don't know why the world's ended, but
It's just some benign pop culture chat. But you will know very shortly what some of our film experiences were like in the year of 2022. So a little time capsule. Maybe that'll have some important clues. I'd continue to listen anyway. Anyway, we should probably speak more to our more than one distant future listener and all the ones they hear currently. For everyone else listening, welcome to our big review of the year. We're going to be talking our favourites, our not so favourites, some honourable mentions, some first time watches, all sorts.
If you've listened to a year in review,
the world of horror
before, if you listen to a year in review on this podcast before, it's the same sort of stuff. We do top. Well, I think we're doing a top 10 this time. Last time we did top 5. We're gonna do a top 10. Honourable mentions. We're not mean and we don't do worst films of the year, but we've got some disappointments to discuss. So yeah, it should be fun. And as Andy said, a little time capsule. I'm still talking to that person in the future. I don't know why I'm obsessed with that. Did you ever put anything in a time capsule, Andy?
Oh, if I did, I've forgotten. I think I may have. My mom loves buying a thing. I think she may have bought some time capsules that we've considered putting stuff in, and we've taken like the pencils and the paper out. I think my mom is more keen on buying stuff than my dad was keen on digging holes in the garden. So I don't think any of it's actually buried.
It's just in a cupboard somewhere in the
Yeah,
loft.
exactly.
What would you put in there if when you were a kid? Some pogs, some football stickers, Panini football stickers, maybe
baby teeth, so you could be brought back.
a bottle of Sunny Delight.
Yeah,
because you can't get it anywhere these days. I don't know about you.
That'd be ever so handy. Yeah, just all of your greatest treasures as a kid, I guess. You think of it like the future. So I can imagine in the olden days, people digging up pharaohs' tombs, all these wonderful treasures. Archaeologists of the future got some right old shit to dig up.
They'll dig up Nokia 3310. It'll have 49% battery.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to play Snake for the rest of time.
Oh, this game. No wonder they all died out. How do you get anything else done?
You wouldn't, exactly. What would you put in a horror time capsule? What could you put in a horror time capsule? I suppose even if you put VHS in the 80s, you'd dig it up now and it would be
perished.
It would be perished, actually. That's true. Unless it's in a airtight.
Yeah, an airtight container. Assuming that storage is not an option, I think I would put some container with some lovely John Carpenter music on there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff. What films would I put on there? Like a bit of a cross section, maybe the contents of this episode. There's a little 2022 time capsule.
Put the very contents of this episode in there. Put a thermos of some sort of horror goo in there. What's the famous horror goo?
Oh, the Ghostbusters slime.
The Ghostbusters slime that makes you angry.
Yeah, some of that.
Ah, I'm fuming.
In case you need to bring a Statue of Liberty to life in the future, that'll come in handy.
Doesn't the goo end up making everyone fall in love with each other though?
Yeah, because they get positively charged slime where they just say lovely stuff to it.
It makes a toaster bounce around.
Yeah.
Good time. I was going to say maybe some pea soup that was used as Regan's vomit.
Yeah, a bit of that.
In The Exorcist. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we're still going to do some of the regular standard bits of this episode. Maybe not as thorough with some of them, especially what we've been watching, because a lot of that stuff's going to appear on the films we discussed today. But I've got some horror news for this week, Andy Conduit Turner. The first thing, there's a trailer for Evil Dead Rise.
My goodness.
Bloomin' heck. Now, if you're a patron, then our reaction to that trailer should be on Patreon now. So patreon.com/horror hangout, early access for patrons on there. our reaction to the Green Band and the Red Band trailer for Evil Dead Rise, and I guess we could talk about it a little bit here. So the film's coming out on April the 21st. Director Lee Cronin. It's kind of set in like the city in I guess a tower block, and it looks like it's very family orientated. Like a mum is possessed or turned into a deadite, and then everyone kind of battles against her. Standard stuff, kind of looks the same sort of vibes as Evil Dead 2013. Long Gone are the kind of like horror comedy vibes, which is good really, because I feel like they would have just had to cast someone who's like a bit like Bruce Campbell. I'm
Yeah,
glad they didn't do that.
but I'm looking
Um,
forward to it. You know, for everyone else who's not on Patreon, you'll be able to see our reactions to it sometime between now and the film coming out. But
yeah.
overall, I'm keen
Mm.
for this. I think I mentioned on the reaction in a year where we'll talk about this a little bit later. I think franchise movies have perhaps let us down a little bit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still really optimistic with this, and I think this one looks great.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's also a trailer for a movie called Immersion, which is directed by Takashi Shimizu, who directed The Grudge. So it's his new horror offering, opens this year in Japan. Mysterious deaths befall on employees of a VR tech company. There's an unprecedented fear waiting between reality and the virtual world. And a very, very creepy looking poster. We've got like a classic, almost like a medieval Japanese illustration. So yeah, that could be interesting. Have we got a good VR horror movie yet? I know there's been some episodes of Black Mirror. I know there was that Demonic, which we kind
Demonic,
of
that was quite the opposite of a good VR horror movie.
yeah.
Um,
So
there's the
there's an
Lawnmower
opening there.
Man.
Oh yeah, the Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower
Great.
Man is good. I like the bit where they do a big virtual reality kiss and their faces are all stretchy and stuck together.
Yeah.
That's the
Uh,
only visual I remember from that film. And
I,
his big sort of Max Headroom head doing a big
yeah.
shout.
It's got very shiny, chromy visuals, isn't it? The old Lord Morriman. So yeah, the fact that this is out, and there's also
Yeah.
I think Shimizu's Suicide Forest Village was his last film, which is streaming now. I think. So maybe that's worth checking out. This kind of looks from the trailer, from watching the trailer. I won't say too much, but there's one of the Silent Hill installments, Silent Hill F.
Yeah,
Silent Hill F.
F, the
Is
one
it
that's
F?
like, yeah, F, which is like the 60s one.
60s set. It kind of gives me those sort of vibes, and I'm all for it. I'm very very keen for this, and also everything that Silent Hill's got to offer this year. So yeah, that is out. So there's two trailers you can check out, but also I mean slightly bad news is that the horror mystery series 1899 has been cancelled at Netflix after just one season. So that's from the makers of the TV show Dark. And yeah, so just after one season they've cancelled it. And Netflix seem to be doing that a lot lately, don't they?
Not like Netflix to cancel something prematurely before it's even had time. Because basically, me hearing about 1899, bearing in mind I watch quite a lot of horror, consume quite a lot of horror. Hearing about it as it's being cancelled kind of is
Yeah.
testament to how much it's been really promoted or given a chance to grow into things. Bearing in mind as well, if you think about some of their standout hits to this day, I wasn't aware of something like Breaking Bad until it was a few series in. I think when I first heard about Breaking Bad, it was when I saw trailers for what might have been the third season. You kind of have to give some shows a little bit of room
Mm.
to hit their stride and make their mark. I think especially in a time when, so this is almost becoming a catchphrase, Ben. Content is infinite. Like, you're always going to be watching something. The reality is that you may not have time to, across all of the services in the world, plus all of the channels that exist on your TV just as they are, to necessarily think, oh, this new thing's come out. I better drop everything else I'm watching and watch it immediately because otherwise it's not going to get renewed. Like, you kind of have to accept that you might watch something a bit later. I think the problem that Netflix and a lot of other services has isn't about necessarily building quality items. It's the way they evaluate success.
Mm. How many times do series as well you sort of go, oh, this show's great, but it doesn't really get good until the first series. Obviously the first two, you're not going to skip the first two series, but at the same time, like allowing these shows to have time to grow and sort of have their own identity. And yeah, I agree with you. Like sometimes a few weeks go by and it's like a film's released at the cinema, a whole series is dropped on Netflix. There's weekly episodes or something on Amazon. There's a new game's out. There's this podcast just premiered. It's like I need time to
Yeah.
go through all these things, and like 18.99 hasn't really even been on my radar until now. I found out that it's been cancelled. So
Yeah. Well, like, funny enough, I switched the PlayStation on the other day, and on the way to what I was actually doing, 18.99 was one of the tiles that said, "Oh, this is a thing that's out now."
okay.
But again, I'm kind of disinclined to watch something knowing that the showrunners will have probably designed a cliffhanger to end the series because they want to keep people engaged and get people talking about what's going to happen next. And if it's been cancelled, what hope does that have? I had it with the. Keep me honest. Was it the Black Tapes? It's based on a podcast. I mean, obviously we have the podcast that we can go to.
Archive 81.
Archive 81. That was it. The Black Tapes is another fiction podcast. Yeah. So Archive 81. I watched the first three episodes, and was quite enjoying it. But then the news dropped that it had been cancelled, and the people who created it were quite, I think quite vocally disappointed about it. And I'm like, that's a real shame because especially in this cycle of the next thing is coming out, and having a variety of interests as well. Like, woe betide you also have any other hobbies that isn't watching a thing, right? What if you play a sport or do whatever else, or even just have a full-time job? Like, there's not the time to make something the biggest thing that's ever been streamed. Like, if you look at those traditional metrics, wasn't like it's probably been immediately surpassed, but wasn't Red Notice like one of the most watched things on Netflix last year?
I think,
but
yeah,
that was a movie that I instantly forgot the moment it finished. Like, it was fine. I had a jolly good time seeing attractive and fun people doing some fun quips and having an adventure. But I'm probably never going to watch it again. I'm probably not going to really remember that. But yeah, there are a lot of series that have a lot of potential that get cancelled, not because they're bad and not because they don't get an audience, but because they fail to be the biggest thing ever that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's a bit annoying, but I'm just glad it hasn't happened. Well, I say it hasn't happened to something I really enjoy. It happened with happened with Glow on.
Glow, don't be started on Glow.
That was the one that hit me the hardest. Where I was like, oh,
wasn't that a COVID thing though?
Possibly.
I think they were meant to be doing, if I'm remembering Glow correctly. Sorry, guys. Welcome to the wrestling related sort of comedy drama hangout. I think Glow was an issue where they were going to do a fourth season to finish it. COVID meant that was delayed, and then basically scheduling was never going to work for anyone ever again.
I guess because everyone's in movies as well, aren't they? A lot of the stars of that. So
yeah.
There we go. Okay. That is all I've got for horror news. I guess what we've been watching we're going to be fairly quick, I guess, because a lot of the things on what we've been watching we're going to be discussing today, unless there's anything else that you thought was worth a mention, Andy.
I tell you what, I'll mention a couple of things quickly that don't fit into what else I'm going to be talking about for the stuff of the year. I watched WNUF Halloween Special. It was in relation to the fact that I know a lot of excitement has been generated around the Out There Halloween Megatape, which serves as a sequel to this program. It's quite difficult to come by the Out There Halloween Megatape right now because the filmmakers have chosen to distribute it only on physical media and not go with a VOD release, simply to avoid fans having to, pirate it, download it illegally, to avoid that piracy piece. while they can't necessarily manage a big international distribution because people will be keen to watch it soon. So they're selling it directly from their big cartel website. Having watched the original movie, the WNUF Halloween special, it is for those with a fondness or memories of kind of American network television growing up in the 80s. It is a US version of Ghostwatch, effectively played a little bit more for laughs than Ghostwatch is.
Mm-hmm.
Really quite fun, and very authentic looking in the way it's put together. I had a lot of fun with it, and now, I mean, I haven't looked on their website to try and get a copy of the Out There Halloween mega tape. I imagine it's US focused, so it'll be, what's that? Postage. That's one mortgage payment, please. So I may have to wait a little while until international distribution is a little easier, or they do look at making it available
Yeah.
digitally in the future, or just have to wait a little while. But I'm keen to catch that based on the strength of that first special that the creative team put together. I also got round to watching The Lair, so Neil Marshall of Dog
Ah,
Soldiers fame's latest.
okay. I've not seen that yet.
Um, yeah, I haven't watched Dog Soldiers for a little while. I think for me personally, I didn't resonate with some of the personality of this one, mostly because a lot of the characters are American soldiers. You don't have the same
Mm-hmm.
British Army stereotypes that you're used to seeing in that one. But there's some good practical effects. There's some good monsters. It's always good to see, more from Neil Marshall as a filmmaker as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just it doesn't quite overtake Dog Soldiers for me just yet. But there was some good fun to be had. But other than that, all things that I'm going to be talking about over the course of
Yeah,
the stuff of the year.
I'm pretty much the same. I think anything I've watched in the last week has kind of been filling in a couple of those blanks of things that I hadn't seen. Still a couple that I didn't manage to watch. So if their omission on my list fills you with fury, probably not.
Absolute rage.
I didn't watch Crimes of the Future. Uh,
No, me either.
Dave Cronenberg. I didn't watch Hatching, which I've heard good things about as well. Uh, is that maybe it? Is that maybe the two glaring omissions that I was sort of disappointed I didn't get to see? I think that might be it. There's probably a few that we'll mention throughout that I've probably forgotten about as
There's a
well.
couple of others I really wanted to catch up on, and pencils have erasers, Ben. I'm happy to go into my letterbox and adjust my top 10 if that happens, but only if it
Yeah.
happens in the next few days. Otherwise, what I say now stands for eternity.
What I say goes. Okay, so how are we going to do this so we're now going to jump into the 2022 year in review. So I guess what we're going to do first is talk about our top 10, I guess, and how we're going to do this is similar to how we do the franchise ranking episodes, the bonus episodes if you heard them. We're going to count down from 10, taking it in turns back and forth. If we talk about a film that the other person's got on their list, we will obviously mention it once we get to it on the list, but but the first mention of it is when we'll discuss it, and discuss our thoughts on it. Yeah, and then we'll count down, and then we've got other categories to sort of go into as well along the way. Indeed. So Andy, would you like to start? Would you like to kick off with your number 10?
Oh, do you want me to start with honorable mentions before we get into a 10
Uh,
situation, or do you want to cover them at the end?
I reckon cover them at the end. But what do you think?
Yeah, okay, let's cover those at
Yeah,
the end, because then we might cover some of those with honorable mentions. Okay.
sure.
So I am going to begin then with let me just count these down here. Okay. I am going to start with my number 10 film of the year, which was something we saw at one of our festivals that we caught up with. It is a Spanish horror movie called Piggy.
Lovely, lovely stuff.
Let me just pull that up there. So, I mean, Ben, you interviewed the director.
I did interview
So
director
Carlota Pereda is the Pereda. Yep. So she was the director and writer as well, right? Or co-writer of the movie. Here is the synopsis. Adolescence can be brutal. A bullied, overweight teenager sees a glimpse of hope when her tormentors are brutally abducted by a mesmerizing stranger.
That stranger's bloody mesmerized, and I'm mesmerized by this guy. Um, I find him quite terrifying, actually. I wasn't mesmerized by him at all. I was like, Jesus Christ, what's he going to do? Is he going to murder people? Maybe.
Probably. Yeah, it's
Probably, maybe.
I really liked it. Really good character work. A really, just a good physical different body type to what we usually see in this as well. And actually good to see those rotten bullies
Mm.
getting what's coming to them in a really character driven piece.
Yeah. I think
Some
of
different faces, some different names. It was good. It was good to see it.
mm, I think of everything we watched at Fright Fest, this was kind of the one that probably stayed with me more. I think when we chose our favorites of the fest, I think I mentioned Piggy, but I think I also mentioned Fall. But I haven't included Fall on my top 10 because I don't know. I found it didn't stick with me at all. I think like the experience of watching it was exhilarating, but I think after that I was a bit like, okay, I'm not
Yeah,
going to give that another thought. But with Piggy, I kind of like it, kind of stuck with me, and I see that it's been doing very well on other circuits and um elsewhere. So it's good to see,
yeah.
and
I
I
think
think it's
Fall. Just to your point on Fall, I think that was a film that was very good at what it was doing, but I've seen it done. It was I've seen some of the things it was bringing to the table before.
yeah, single
Rather with
location.
Piggy, totally different, totally different.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like it's a horror movie, yes, but it's also like an exploration of body image and sort of like this girl growing up in a small village in Spain and having to deal with all of these things as well as like a threat from a potential killer and also some real mean bullies. And yeah, like sort of that Stephen King esque bully vibes where you kind of feel more stressed when the bullies are on the screen rather than the
And
actual
the monster.
thing than the thing you're supposed to be scared of, like a bloody Pennywise or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, check that one out.
yeah, definitely worth checking out. So we discussed that on our Fright Fest episode back in when was that? April, March, April, sometime
Yeah.
around about now.
Do you know, was it a bit later than that even? Because it was the Glasgow one was in March, and then the other
Of
one
course,
was
yeah,
then
it
we
was
had
quite
other
far
Fright Fest
later.
in the summertime. Um,
Correct, yeah.
just a quick one. Maybe we'll do this for each of the films we cover. Looking at where it is available now, certainly in the US, I can see that you can buy Piggy on Vudu, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video. You can rent it on Vudu, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video, Spectrum On Demand, and Direct TV. So they're all the US locations you can get it. UK, I'd imagine, would have similar
Mm,
distribution, but check those platforms wherever you are in the world. Hopefully,
mm-hmm.
if that's piqued your interest, you'll be able to catch it on one of those.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. Okay, so that's your number 10, Andy.
It
Piggy.
is.
My number 10 is a movie called Speak No Evil, which is I think it's on Shudder. Shudder. I don't know if it's a Shudder original, but it's on Shudder. And so a Danish family visits Dutch family. They met on holiday. Supposed to be an idyllic weekend. Slowly starts unraveling as the Danes tried to stay polite in the face of unpleasantness. This was not a film that we covered on the podcast. This was a film I watched outside of the podcast. Sorry to say that. Apologies, Andy. Don't mean to cheat on the podcast in
No,
such a
it's
way.
all right.
But did you see this? Did you see
I
Speak No
haven't
Evil?
seen it. This is one of the ones that I still want to watch this year. Shudder
Okay.
Originals have been churning out some absolute bangers this year,
Oh
and I
yeah,
have this, Sissy, and um Glorious. Is that the one in the toilet cubicle?
yeah.
All of those that I still want to watch this year from just Shudder Originals alone.
I've not seen Sissy, but I saw Glorious. That was pretty good. Um, this is like one of the most tense, palpable, dread fueled films like ever. And the whole time you're just thinking, what is going to happen? And I mean, I'm not. It's not a spoiler when I say like it is one of the bleakest. I mean, it's the bleakest final act to a movie, perhaps since Kill List. I would say
Oh
one of
wow.
those final acts where you're just like, oh my god, there's absolutely no way. So yeah, highly recommend it. Some really great acting, some really great like character work, and I guess the message of the film is learning when to say no. Stop being so polite. You know, I think British people get a bit of a bad rap for never being able to say no and always sort of like going along with things. But I don't know. I love kind of just making my excuses and leaving. Just I'm definitely at the age where I won't put myself through something if it's making me uncomfortable. I will just go. I'll tell you what. I left the oven on. I'll tell you what. Dogs at home go mental. I've got to go.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
got a chip. Sorry. What
gotta
have you
get
got?
out of here.
Have you got a synopsis of that, or you can like have you
Yeah,
got
yeah.
like the where it's
I,
from?
yeah. So I said at the top, just at the start of this section, it says a Danish family visit a Dutch family and met on holiday, and it kind of just it's hard to say what else it's about without kind of ruining it. They kind of
Ah,
just
okay. No
they try to
spoilers. That's
stay
enough.
they try to stay polite in the face of unpleasantness. So it's almost like a no. I won't say much more. I think go and watch it if your interest is at least peaked. Directed by Christian Taftrup. I don't think I've seen anything else he's directed. Oh, he directed something else called A Horrible Woman. Um,
Does what it
you
says on the
know,
tin. Does what it says on the tin, I guess.
this film's about a horrible woman, and Speak No Evil's about some horrible
About not
people.
saying anything evil.
But it's just one of those things. It's I guess it could be considered a thriller on the surface, but yeah, it definitely strays into that sort of kill list territory of bad people doing bad things. Yeah, and there's a particular the final act's difficult to stomach, but there's a particular moment which is just like, oh god, how would you react? What could you do? Like a million other things than what this couple do. So, yeah, that is my number 10. Speak No Evil.
Okay.
Uh, should we go down to number 9 then?
Number nine, I have for
Number
you
10.
now one that we covered on an entire episode, I believe, and my current background for those of you on video. My number nine this year is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Bodies, bodies, bodies. We didn't cover it on an episode.
Did
Can you
we
believe it?
not? I thought we
We didn't.
covered the. I think we went
I
through the
think
whole thing. Though. Did we do a bonus or something?
I I think we're gonna
Madness.
do. I think we're gonna do a bonus, but we just never got around to it. I think we discussed it like on what we've been watching a bit, but yeah, we never sort of covered it on an episode, which is
Uh,
kind of. I think we had a couple of requests as well. So apologies if you wanted that. This next few minutes will be us. This will be the episode condensed into a tiny
Going
little
through
thing.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Well, I saw Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I've said bodies a lot of times now. By the grace of our good friends over at the DCA in Dundee, invited me over for a screening of
Oh
that
yeah,
one. That was great. I saw it with friend of the show, John Crennan. Um, and it was patron against his will. And I really I really enjoyed it. It was billed very heavily as like a Gen Z uh, comedy, and I think that was really shown in the dialogue choices that they made. I then watched it again, which is a rare. I watched it again on a
oh
flight
wow,
earlier this year. So here's the synopsis for you. This is not a safe space. When a group of 20 somethings get stuck at a remote mansion during a hurricane, party game gone very, very wrong ends in a dead body on the ground and fake friends at every turn trying to find the killer among them. It is currently available in the UK this time. Letterboxd is telling me you can rent it on iTunes, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video, on Chill, and on YouTube. So check that out for your territory
yeah.
as well. I
I don't.
found it really sharply written. I found some of the people we saw. I found it properly funny in some places, in some areas as well. I thought, hey, Gen Z, and I'm getting on a bit in years, but we're not so different, you and I.
No.
Especially our podcast host as well. Obviously, resonated
Yeah,
with
of
me in a
course.
way that we haven't seen on film since the character podcast in last year's Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh God.
Um, yeah, I really liked it. Without spoilers, your mileage on the ending and the resolution of the thing may vary, but I thought it was great fun. I
Oh
thought it was
yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. How about you, Ben?
I don't want to ruin where I put it on my list, but it's definitely up there as one of my favorites of the year. I watched it in the cinema. It was totally like unexpected. From watching the trailer, I kind of felt like this is the thing. It's like a send up of a generation. It's very sharply written. It is satire, uh, but it is like genuinely really funny. And the way things play out is so like unexpected. I think for the whole duration, I kind of had different um ideas of where it was going to go, and how it ended up just really surprised me. Maria Bakalova, who's also in Borat, the sequel.
And is in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, right? She's the voice of Cosmo the dog.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yeah, of course. So yeah, and I just think the cast, everyone is awesome. Uh, it's just one of those. Pete Davidson, not somebody that I've seen in all that much, to be fair, but obviously a big name, not just in the world of movies, but just the world of celebrity,
Being a
I guess.
celebrity.
Being a celebrity.
Going out with a
So
Kardashian, is he? I don't even know.
going out with Kardashian, yeah. I think wait, no, he was going out with Kim Kardashian. Don't know about
I just
now.
can't. I just can't keep up.
I just can't keep up. He's been going out of everyone. I think it was what's her name? Ariana Grande as well. And Lee Pace, obviously, from like the Hobbit movies and Guardians of the Galaxy as well. Interested to see him in a different role. I just think it was completely unexpected, and I had a lot of fun with it. And you know, as a horror movie, it's a very unique sort of experience. Feels like a whodunit, but the way, and you said about mileage in terms of the resolution of this film, I was very pleased and
Yeah,
impressed.
I was genuinely surprised by how it all played out as well.
Because it's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, can you imagine if that actually like? I'm sure there must have been
Yeah,
something similar must have happened at some point, you know, uh, in the world, especially of. And this is the thing, like, it is a send up of a generation, but it's not. I think you can enjoy it as that generation and as like the older generations as well. It's not like a finger pointing, like a lot of films kind of, if they're made by someone of a certain generation and about a younger generation, it can like point the finger and kind of make out that people are dumb, that people
Mhm.
are superficial. But this film kind of like has a lot of fun with it.
I think it gets very right. What I found the Texas Chainsaw remake was very off
Yeah.
message with, because that was almost
Okay.
kind of flirting with generational like culture wars
Yeah.
in a way that I found didn't really work for me. But this,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
I think I agree with you. Like the writing of certain characters and the relationships they have with each other. This is the thing. Like it was a very dynamic, interesting group of people who had a lot of history together, and you kind of felt that, and it felt very natural in terms of like, oh, there's some tension here. Why is there some tension here? What's happened before this? And the fact that they're all in this place where they're kind of stranded was really interesting. I just found that some films try too hard to try and develop these sort of character traits and relationships between characters. Perfect example is Christmas Bloody Christmas. I found the way the characters were written were like completely, they were like a real drag to be around. I was just like, I really don't like this. Whereas with this one, it's like, sure, some of them are assholes, some of them are like self-centered, some of them are like real bastards, but at the same time, you're like, I kind of enjoy being in this sort of dynamic. I enjoyed the kind of the back and forths they have with each other. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think I'm kind of a bit similar on. I did enjoy the Leatherface stuff, but I think the character work in Texas Chainsaw Massacre was potentially left a lot to be desired.
Apologies if I wasn't reacting to you very well, Ben. I just managed to lean on the little device on my headphones that turns the sound right down.
I made the best points I've ever made on this podcast.
Oh, God damn it. Well, I'll have to listen back, I guess.
Award-winning points, hot takes, the hottest of the hot takes, scalding hot takes.
Well, provided you didn't say anything to get you cancelled, I agree with everything that you said.
Okay, thank you. So number 9 for me is Piggy. So definitely made it into my top 10 for the reasons already mentioned. Should we go to number 8? Andy?
Yeah, number 8. Should I say my number 8? We'll do it like that, or
Yeah, go for it.
right. So my number 8 is now, depending on your language, is either Final Cut or Coupe, which we also saw at Fright Fest this year, and is the French remake of the Japanese One Cut of the Dead. I've not seen the original yet, but I have seen this one, and I bloody loved it. Now, I feel, I don't know, maybe I should take a few lumps for this because I haven't seen the original to comment on how close it is and what the quality of it is based on the original versus what this done. But I found it really well paced, extremely funny, And from what I could gather, there must be a separate angle on top of the original as well, because in this film, the premise of let me read you the synopsis. So things go badly for a small film crew shooting a low-budget zombie movie when they are attacked by real zombies. Um, it has the additional element, which I imagine doesn't exist in the Japanese original, in that they're also having loads of meetings, and it shows several pieces where the French film production team are meeting with the Japanese owners of the story and having meetings with them about producing their film, which is why in a French movie with clearly French people in it, all the characters have Japanese names and they haven't been allowed to change them by the
Oh, right.
film. By the films.
Okay.
It was so funny. It was so well put together. I had a brilliant time with it. And I don't know what it is. I think we've been purely driven a lot by some more exposure to some French cinema and some French horror comedy cinema in the last couple of film festivals we've got to, and I've really been enjoying
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like,
Some like it rare as well. Yeah.
yeah, like the I don't know. Like one of my other favorite non-horror movies is it's Belgian, but a French language comedy called A Town Called Panic. Like they've they sometimes just hit a good spot for me, and I really really enjoyed it. I still need to watch the original to see how that goes, but I found this film an absolute delight. It is currently available. We were lucky enough to see it. Again, a screener was sent to us as part of our Fright Fest coverage in the summertime. But in the UK right now, you can buy or rent it on iTunes, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video, Routkin TV, or the Microsoft Store. Again, check your availability for your own region.
I've not seen it, so maybe I need to. I've seen One Cut of the Dead, so maybe it's good
I'd
to.
love to get your take having seen it. If you watch this one, and I'll watch the original, and then we can see
Okay,
what the best is.
sounds good. So your number 8 is it just called Final Cut?
Final Cut or Coupe in French.
Okay. So my number 8 is Men, the movie about men. Directed by Alex Garland, starring Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear. That's pretty much all you need to know about who's in it. Aftermath of personal tragedy, Harper retreats alone to the beautiful English countryside, hoping to find a place to heal. But there's something or someone stalking the woods around. This is like by the numbers folk horror, but you know what? I was very, very into it. And again, another film that's kind of like stuck with me. Some of the soundtrack I kind of listen to semi regularly, and Alex
Brought forward
Garland.
Fiesta, haven't you? You haven't. But I tell you
No,
what, it's a cracking advert for a Fiesta.
it's a cracking advert. Literally a brand new off the forecourt Fiesta as well.
She hasn't been eating in that new car. Don't want any
No.
crumbs in it.
So I loved Ex Machina. Annihilation I wasn't hugely into, but I think Men is, and you know what, it is heavy-handed with the kind of message it's trying to put across. It is heavy-handed, but it is one of those quintessentially weird British, like the fact that we're watching a horror movie and it kind of reminds me of like the League of Gentlemen and
Yeah.
as well as like other sort of folk horror. I guess Kill List getting another mention, reminded me of that as well. Like that, just that palpable dread of like just English landscape and you know English countryside as well. And Rory Kinnear, even though it is kind of ridiculous the fact that we see his face on a child's body, and obviously some minor spoilers.
He's a rude little boy in that as well, isn't he? He goes, you
rude
bitch.
little boy. It's a weird film, and you know there are some body horror stuff. There's some body horror stuff that happens as well, which is really really odd. And it's one of the one theme for 2022 seems to have been the hand injuries as well. We've seen it
Tell
in
you what.
we saw it in Halloween Ends. We've seen it in Men. And I'm pretty sure there's another one. I can't just say of that. Hand injuries, a specific hand injury as well. So yeah, something about this film I found it really, and again another cinema watch, and of course in terms of thematics and sort of underlying ideas, it says a lot about relationships between men and women, abuse, sort of controlling
Generational
behavior,
trauma, which has been,
generational
I think,
trauma,
generational trauma has been
generational
the
trauma. Yeah,
theme of the year.
yeah, yeah. I think I agree with you there. We've got stuff like I'm not going to mention. I'll mention other films that deal with generational trauma, but not just with films that we've covered, brand new releases. Sorry, but also it seems to be with a lot of films that we've covered on the podcast. Just films that we've decided to cover, some that we've not seen before.
Yeah, true.
Generational trauma seems to be something that's I've definitely, as a horror fan, have understood a lot more about thanks to the genre this year. And sort of noticed it appears in a lot of horror movies and sometimes in the places you'd least expect in terms of horror films. So yeah, for me, Men, I know it got a lot of shit from various pockets and various corners of
I can see the point of where some of the criticism comes from, and I hadn't thought about it at the time. I think we even said on the episode that um yes, it can be heavy-handed, but you know what? Subtle messages don't always sink in,
mm,
and I think it was worth going into. Remind me, who was our guest when we discussed Men? Was it Laura or was it Lucy?
I think it was Lucy. It
Yeah,
was Lucy, yeah.
I
It was
think I
Lucy.
think I think Lucy made a very good point that you know, it's making a very big statement, from a female perspective when you have no
Mm.
female writing staff and a male director as
Oh
well.
yeah, of
Which
course, yeah.
I can get that point, and I get that how that might grate for some folks, but
Mm.
um, I did enjoy the movie. Men just slipped into my honorable mentions on the strength of a few movies I've seen very recently, in fact. But still, I think my comment on it on the time was probably some career defining performances from both Jesse Buckley and your mate Rory Kinnear. Um,
Big bad
and
Rory.
I would say arguably one of the most intense horror scenes and experiences you're going to see in mainstream releases over the course of the year. Certainly anything that got a cinema release. Probably
Yeah,
that last section of film was some of the most
yeah.
intense 20 minutes
And
on a cinema screen this year.
not just that though, like, there's a particular scare involving I say scare, but a particularly tense moment with a sort of crescendo of fear, in a tunnel that really, really got me. I think there's something about
Mm-hmm.
that just made, because I think we've been in that situation. We've been roaming the sort of British countryside, and we've seen someone from far away, or someone shouted at us from far away, and we've been like, Jesus Christ, dude, how's that? Is it like,
You've just been in a tunnel, mind your own business, good, ah, oh, ah.
oh
And
God, yeah.
then you have to have a big run.
Oh yeah, that was terrifying, and yeah, it worked for me, and I would like to see it again because I've only seen it once in the cinema. So yeah, that is my. I'm not sure where this is available at the moment. Men, I don't know if it's streaming or on video on demand.
I'm going to tell you.
Anywhere, you could tell me. You're
See
the
if I can
king of.
pull it up. So I've got Letterboxd up right now. So Men by Alex Garland. You can in the UK. You can buy it on iTunes, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video, YouTube, and Routkin TV.
Mm, okay, so it's available. It's out there if you're interested. If you liked Ex Machina or Annihilation, but still, I think don't go into this film expecting it to be like either one of those movies because this is this the first like original concept that Alex Garland has directed, because I know Annihilation's based on a book.
So Annihilation, I don't know what Ex Machina is if it's
Yeah, that's
adapted.
true, but still, there we go. That is my number 8. What are you
Right.
saying for number 7?
For number 7, Ben, I'm going for something that I can tell you exactly where you can watch it. In the UK right now, you can watch it on Disney Plus from today. That's what I've just done.
Oh,
I've watched The Menu, and having watched it, maybe a bit
oh.
of recency bias here, but I really enjoyed it, and it's jumped to number 7 on my movies of the year. So
So sorry to jump in there, Andy. I really like The Menu, but I've not included it on my top 10 because not just that film, but there's also another film I'd like to discuss under honorable mentions, where I'm a bit conflicted on whether I can include it as a horror film. Like I know it's got some horror elements, and I think framed slightly differently, you could say it was a horror movie, but I'm basing this purely on the way it's kind of promoted as well. I'm kind of
yeah.
including that.
I took it as a horror movie. It had enough threat and enough
Hmm.
sort of visceral moments for me. Let me read the synopsis real quick. So, wonderful surprises await you all. A couple travels to a coastal island to eat an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises.
Ever
Um,
so lavish.
Ray Fiennes, Anna Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, leading a really, really great cast in this one.
Hmm.
There is
What a
some.
year, what a year Anya Taylor-Joy's had. Obviously,
She
she's
has,
in that. She's in The Northman. Am I missing something else?
and
Something else she's in?
and again, what's it called? Soho was last year, but
Last year was
again, a
last night. So
big,
yeah.
off the Queen's Gambit as well. Like for someone who apparently was told at some point that you know they based it on her looks and said, "Oh, you look too strange to be a leading woman." Like she's
Hmm.
pulling out all kinds of amazing, amazing roles, and I think this is another really great one. Um, Ray Fiennes also is incredibly sinister. Looks like one of his other roles, old no nose Voldemort. Looked like someone you could pop down the pub with and have a lovely chat. He
Yeah.
is incredibly menacing in this. His sous chefs are like a brilliant, well, like addition to the whole ensemble. So I don't want to spoil anything because it had a very short cinema run and it's only just come on streaming to be available. But
Hannibal Lecter vibes a little
yeah,
bit, but
yeah,
not in the way that perhaps you may expect from a film called The Menu. With it's not well. Don't want to
yeah,
spoil anything, but
yeah.
yeah.
I found it really, really tense, really, really enjoyable. And I think it's one of those that you come away from with those moments that you kind of want to tell that you can't wait for other people to see, like, oh, this bit where this happens, and you get some
Mm.
proper gasp moments in that
Nick
movie.
Nicholas Hoult as well, an actor that I've always kind of for some sometimes no disrespect to Nicholas Hoult, sure he's a lovely man. Just don't like him in films. I don't know why. Something about him just don't appreciate maybe any characters he's ever played. Have I ever thought, oh, that's a play lovely. Mad Max Fury Road, probably the only film that I could because he's unrecognizable.
You only like him
Um,
when he's got silver teeth.
I only like him when he got silver teeth. But yeah, in this, kind of had a bad feeling about him, and I don't want to say I'm right, but douche.
I think
Uh,
as well with that one as well, I think they do this very well in that these people that you have like some crypto bro like investor types in there. You have
mm,
Nicholas Holt's character. You recognize characters like this.
yeah, it
I
feels
think
like it's a bit of a
yeah,
Black Mirror vibe as well, isn't it? I guess
yeah,
this could easily be, if it was an hour long, a Black Mirror episode, because a send up of modern generations, modern types of people, I guess. You've got your food critic, as you said, crypto bros, just some expensive people who go to expensive restaurants but don't
just
appreciate
because they're
food.
like just like rinse in their business account, right?
Yeah, like a failing actor. Yeah,
Oh,
there's loads
John
of people like that.
Leguizamo,
John
another
Leguizamo, Jesus Christ, he was in Violent Night as well. He is all
yeah,
over the place.
he's having a big. You talk
Resurgence.
about Anna Taylor Joy, he's having a great year.
It's a
Um,
resurgence of John Leguizamo. Yeah.
yeah, I really got a lot out of this. I'm looking forward to watching it again with Karen. And, I think this would be one that if you're having a bit of a horror movie night with your friends or thriller movie, whatever you want to call it, this is one you could put on and you could watch together and it'd be a pleasure to see other people's reactions to. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I watched it and immediately it came a late entry onto my top 10 for the year.
So I didn't include it in my top 10. However, it is quite high up on my actual list of favorite films, all genres that I've compiled.
Oh, so there, it didn't
So
make it because of your
yeah,
uncertainty that it counted as horror,
yeah,
but
it's not just. I mean, I guess it does, but I think in terms of my list of horror movies, I'm not going to include it. However, as we discussed it, I'll say it's definitely going to be one of my honourable mentions.
there you go. What you got for number
So
seven, Ben?
number 7, I've got X, the Ty West movie set in the 70s. Group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas where they find reclusive elderly hosts, catch him in the act, and then some mad shit happens. two of the biggest stars of 2022, Mia Goth and Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega obviously was in Scream 5, 5 Cream, and also Wednesday this year. She's been absolutely killing it. And Mia Goth, who was also in Pearl, the prequel to X. I've not included that in my top 10 because I think after giving it quite a lot of thought, X is far and away my favorite of those two movies. And then we're going to get Maxine, the third movie as well. I think X is on Amazon Prime at the moment as well. I think I saw it on there. So you can go and check that out. This is, it's framed in a way that it's sort of like a grindhouse movie, a bit of like an exploitation movie. What are movies called? Hagsploitation movies.
Is it Hagsploitation now? Is that the new name?
I think that's what we're calling it now, which is where it portrays older people, particularly older women, as terrifying or evil or something. Horror has got a little bit of a not an obsession, but in terms of, I think older women get that treatment more so than older men do in horror. I mean, older men tend to be like, I know you've got Leatherface and Michael Myers. They're getting on.
They're getting on a bit now, but they're not presented as old men. They're almost presented as these ageless,
superhuman,
ageless. I guess you've got the
figures. Yeah.
I guess you've got the bad blind man from Don't Breathe, but he's been rehabilitated as a hero now because he kills drug dealers, right?
Yeah, that's right. Don't Breathe 2, he's been rehabilitated. He's no longer evil, even though he's keeping people prisoner. Yeah, so I found X just a really cool film. When you watch a movie like this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
enjoying this. Just the aesthetics of it, everything that kind of goes with it. It gets a bit generic, possibly when we find out what the crux of the movie is. However, I had a good time with it. And I think Pearl was good as well. I think Mia Goth was good. However, I think her performance kind of carried the film, where it kind of suffered a bit in terms of plot and maybe everything else. It very much felt like they must have filmed those like pretty much back to back or like at the same time.
They must have filmed them all quite closely together, right? And we'll call out, shout to fellow horror podcast. I was listening to the top tens from John and Kim from Nightmare on Film Street the other day, and Kim got a little bit of ire from John because she kind of cheated on her top 10 and put them together as a single piece. So X and Pearl together. And soz John, I'm going to go with Kim on this one. I think it would be allowed if you want to consider, because I do think that Pearl makes X more interesting by providing that background to the character, and X gives Pearl a little bit of its more horror credibility. I didn't quite have X on my top 10. Again, a film I enjoyed a great deal this year. I'm a bit like you, Ben. I think I probably like X the most before anyone actually dies. Not just because I have an interest of, I wonder how pornos are made in the 70s. Not that at all. But I found that for characters that were going to be disposed of in a slasher way, they invested a lot in. Ty West did a very nice job of making us like them and have them be interesting characters. That when the killing began, and maybe that's why Pearl is a good companion piece to it, because then you get a little bit more of that background that builds into the character from the other side of it as well.
Yeah.
Maxine has the potential to make this a really nicely rounded trilogy. I probably something I'm excited to see next year as a result of what these two pieces go together as, and very different films in their own right.
And I think Mia Goth's gonna have another big year, because she's in Infinity Pool, the Brandon Cronenberg movie, as well as Maxine. So yeah, it's I think she's established herself well with these two films, and let's see what else she does.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my number 7. What is your number 6?
Number 6 for me, Ben, this year is another. Sorry about this, guys. Broken record. Bloody Fright Fest movie. It is Stalker. So directed by Steve Johnson. Who is the hunter? Rose Hepburn, a young actor working in horror movies, returns to her empty hotel. Forced to use the old freight elevator, it jolts to a halt on the 12th floor, leaving her trapped with an unusual stranger. Left with no mobile phone signal as a storm approaches, tensions escalate and suspicions rise when Rose discovers the identity of the mysterious man is Daniel Reed, a camera operator on her latest movie who is seemingly obsessed with her. As the elevator hangs precariously high and about to plunge down any minute, some harsh truths and actions start unfolding. Bit of a mouthful of a synopsis, but it makes some excellent points. You can watch it today in the UK, Amazon Video, Rakuten TV, and YouTube, rent or buy. So I think this is really worth checking out. It is a single scene horror movie, really focused on characters, with the exception of maybe a few cutaways or, a very brief cameo from Bret Hart, your mate, Ben.
Oh yeah.
It is the two main characters on screen for the entirety of the piece. I really want to say nothing about it at risk of spoiling it, but it's an excellent dynamic. Just some of the scenes unfold purely with the chemistry between those two actors, Stuart Brennan and Sophie Skelton,
Mm.
both absolutely amazing performances. It's one of those films that I don't think you can ever recapture the impact of it with a second watching, but as a first time watch, absolutely brilliant.
Oh
I would
yes.
recommend go in and know as little about it as possible. I believe we talked to Lucy about this one, right? And I think she was a big fan at the
Mm.
time. We didn't catch it live. I was only able to catch it once it was back out on stream. I don't think we'd caught it in the with the screeners we were sent over. We ran
Mm.
out of time on it, but yeah,
I've
really,
still not
really
seen it.
stuck with me. It's a good movie.
Still one that I haven't seen. So you're loving Fright Fest, Andy.
Yeah,
Best
tell
few
you,
weeks of your life.
tell you what, with that kind of curation on these things, I'm really excited for it again this year.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. So that is your number six. My number six is Deadstream. So
Ooh.
directed by Joseph Winter, Vanessa Winter, another Shudder original. However, this was also at Fright Fest, wasn't it? But I think
It was.
for some
I
reason we didn't see it, and I think we saw it
I
a little bit
don't
later.
think they did any screeners. I think they were just premiering it
Yeah, that's right.
at the screen live, and we weren't there live this time round.
So unfortunately, it's not available anywhere. You could say it's a dead stream. However, a disgraced internet personality attempts to win back his followers by live streaming One Night Alone in a Haunted House. Joseph Winter and Vanessa Winter also did a section in VHS 99 as
Oh,
well.
which section did they do? Do you know?
The one I can't remember what it's called, but the one where they like go to hell and have to like,
Yes, that makes
yeah,
perfect sense now. Yep.
absolute carnage. So I mean, it's just when you feel like fan footage has run its course. I feel like this year we got Dash Cam and then this, which I think both were great examples of that. Dash Cam didn't make my top 10. However, this is like the Evil Dead because it's like a modern horror romp with comedic sensibilities, and like the central performance from Joseph Winter is like goofy, and even though he is a like disgraced internet personality and a bit of a dickhead, it's really difficult not to kind of like
Yeah.
love him and everything that goes along with it. Just unexpected, just a really fun time, and like genuinely like the horror, it doesn't dial back on the horror at all, it really does lean into it. Yeah, I had a great time with it.
It was one of my favorites this year as well. I will tell you what position it comes a little bit later.
Oh, I
But
see.
yeah, I thought it was brilliant. You said about availability, Ben. Is it not still on Shudder?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, sorry. I was busy looking at the letterbox where to watches. Doesn't seem to have Shutter on there, which is incredibly rude.
Oh, very
Um
strange. But yeah, it's
I'm sure,
yeah,
yes.
I would say, and I think we'll cover this time and time again. And I know we mentioned it in last week's episode as well. Now is the time to really get on board and support Shudder. I think an annual subscription is still like 30 quid or something obscene. Like
Mm.
the incredible value from watching just a few of these things we've got on here, let alone the back catalogue. It'll come up again in honorable mentions for me as well. Really
Mm.
good genre centric like streaming service. And I agree with you, Ben. I think this is really sharply written, really good excuses for actually having more production value and production elements such as music and soundtracks in a found footage movie.
Yeah.
Genuinely funny, yet also genuinely scary in a number of occasions as well. So yeah, big fan.
Yeah, yeah. It was a good time. Highly recommend that. Okay, so that was our number. Sorry, that was my number six. Now on to number five, Andy. What have you got at number five? I was going to say five in a different language then, but my mind went a blank. Cinco.
Cinco. Right, so number five for me, tell you what, Ben, it's only another Fright Fest movie that I
Jesus. You're
enjoyed.
sponsored by Fright Fest. Have they got some money in your pocket?
No, I wish I would sponsor. I would by all means
Oh,
take money to promote them officially, but otherwise we're just doing this for free. Genuine fandom, like we talked about last week. This one, sadly, I don't have anywhere listed that you can watch it, but you can hear me interview the director, John Ainsley, myself on a bonus episode
ah,
that we put out. So this film is
yes, of
Do Not
course.
Disturb. Love is all consuming. Chloe and Jack travel to Miami for their honeymoon. Amidst the flashy neon and sunny beaches, they decide that peyote experience will strengthen their marriage. Unbeknownst to them, they're given a rare and powerful strand that awakens a desire to eat human flesh. Confronting their
Oh.
toxic relationship, the sweet becomes a den of love, lust, and resentment as she realizes that the only way to escape their troubled marriage to an emotionally abusive husband is to literally consume him. Janet Porter as Wendy, Patrick McNeil as Manuel, Kimberly Lafayette as Laurie as well, Chloe rather. A great movie. It was great talking to John about his process with making the movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that I think that description shows again. I think I've really been influenced by a load of really strong character work this year and a lot of time spent on really navigating, not through people overtly saying, "Oh, we are married and we've been married for this number of years," but through genuinely well constructed dialogue and interaction between the characters to build up our knowledge of their relationships together. And
Mm-hmm.
there are horrific moments, there are violent and gory moments in the movie, but there's also genuinely some really good, funny dialogue, some really funny physical moments in it as well. I just had a blast watching this one. I know it was a few months ago that I spoke to John now, and they were talking about distribution for the future. I sincerely hope they get it sorted quite soon so more people can watch this because it's really worth seeking out.
Mm. Another Fright Fest movie that unfortunately I haven't seen. So yeah,
There were so many. I think we had to split the pack eventually, right, and just try and watch as many as we could between us.
yeah,
But yeah, one I really hope that we see available more places. So that hits my number five for this year.
it's lovely. So my number five is The Black Phone. So again, I think this is you mentioned earlier. This is one of these films that's listed as 2021 release, but it was actually released in cinemas in 2022. Directed by Scott Derrickson, obviously who directed Sinister as well as Doctor Strange. Um, I kind of had I don't know if I had high hopes for this, but I think it really delivered in terms of. I know it's a short story by Joe Hill, but it kind of really, really hit those sort of like Stephen Kingisms
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of really enjoy in horror. And even though I haven't seen Mr. Harrigan's Phone, I guess like there could be some comparisons in terms of the subject matter. But
Mr.
I think,
Harrigan's Phone was an honourable mention for me this year as well. Just a nice change of pace, a good
okay,
spooky ghost story. Whereas
yeah,
this, I feel, it's a
yeah,
really good period piece and it's a really good like a thriller horror.
it's like a thriller horror, and I also think it hits like it's like feels like a sort of true crime
Mm-hmm.
thing as well with like supernatural elements. And Ethan Hawke, like if you ever thought I'm not scared of Ethan Hawke, he's not scary. Put a mask and hat and glasses on him, I could have him. Terrifying. Him waiting at the top of the stairs with his top off,
It's
heavy
basically
breathing,
naughty boy game. Don't want to do that.
playing a naughty boy game, yeah. And it was again one of those movies that, like, someone's trapped somewhere and you're kind of urging them to get out, kind of like real life, a bit like Room, I guess, if you've seen that movie with Brie Larson. uh you just, yeah. And the fact, the subject matter, obviously a kid killer, and the fact that the spirits of his victims are helping this boy sort of escape. I thought it was really good. I really like the aesthetic of it. It was a really well made film. The pacing was great. It was really tense, and like performances were great as well. As we said, sometimes kid actors in movies can be the making or breaking of whether a film is good. And I think like Mason Thames, who plays Finney Blake in the movie, was great, and also Gwen, so Madeline, his
It's
sister,
just that, yeah,
was great as well. Yeah, it was just a really good, well made film, and I would like to give it another watch.
yeah. And we're gonna get into it now, Ben, because you've brought up the purpose of the law. Yes, the Black Phone was listed as a 2021 movie. I believe it screened at Sundance or one of the other major film festivals beforehand. But
Yeah,
the purposes of our list, before you at us anybody, is that if it was on general release or certainly, outside of single festivals, we're going to
mm-hmm.
go with the year that we could watch it,
Yeah,
even if it
like
was officially speaking earlier.
yeah. So like official UK cinema really, or official UK releases, I guess.
Yeah,
Mainstream wide releases.
yeah, that's what we'll go for.
Mm.
Um, you anything else that you want to say about the Black Phone?
Say whatever you want now, or forever hold your peace. I think I've said enough.
Right. So do you want me to go for number four then?
Number four, Andy.
Um, we're going to play the same rule of thinking because technically speaking, to look up this one screened at I think a Sundance or another film festival back in 2020, but it has only very very recently um got a wide release for us to be able to watch. You can watch it right now on Amazon Prime Video in the UK or the US. The film is Run, Sweetheart, Run. Um,
Oh, okay, okay.
a first date from hell. A woman runs through her life through the streets of Los Angeles after her blind date suddenly turns violent. Um, watched this very recently. It's great. Um, it
Hmm.
stars Ella Balinska as Cherie, who you may
Oh, she was in the
recognize.
Resident Evil TV
It was
show.
the Resident Evil TV show, cancelled too
Yes.
soon. but
Cancelled too soon. Yeah.
yeah, I get it. It's a recent watch for me. It just snuck on to my like. I really wanted to try and catch this, and I did. And it found its way to this height on my list. Really stylishly done, some really great, compelling characters, some great horror moments. I don't want to spoil anything about the blind date that's chasing them, but some really good cult elements. I love it how it's not fully um explained for the majority of the movie, but some really really great great moments. I think if this film does now see a wide audience, this is the kind of thing that you'll see people in Halloween costumes with in the future as well, or become a
Oh
little bit
wow.
more of
Okay.
an iconic character for our heroine of this story. Yeah, I had a real blast with this, and one of the thematic things that I can say because it doesn't spoil anything from the film itself. It's called Run, Sweetheart, Run. And it's really characterized by there's a few key moments. It's kind of up there with Kill Bill when the bride's eyes lock with one of her targets, and we get the
Yeah.
Ironside
Yeah. Yeah.
sirens. There's a moment like that. There are several moments where she is just being sent on the run again, and we just get big, bold, capital red letters come up on the screen, run exclamation mark, and then it has to just burst into action and sends it
Wow.
running. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And also, Ben, it does have the same elements that you were talking about from Speak No Evil. There's quite a few moments where it's like, oh, okay, there's this politeness, or there's this I'm ignoring something that could be a problem because there's like a little excuse for it, or I don't really want to cause a scene, and
Yeah.
it goes through from there. I know you haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna recommend you watch it, and I'm not gonna say anything more about it because
Yeah.
I'd do an episode on this one. This was a lot of fun.
I've not I saw some bits of advertisement for it, but it was kind of something I felt I should eventually get round to it. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out now you've added it to your list at number 5 as well, right?
At number 4.
Number 4. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Number 4. Wow. Okay, that's definitely high praise. High praise indeed. Um. Okay, so number 4 for me is Nope.
Nope.
A lot of this is the thing. Like a lot of my favorite movies seem to be quite big releases, I guess. But I just think a lot of films that I was anticipating really did deliver, and Nope is one of them. And again, another film where after watching it and after we've reviewed it on the show and every thought I've had of it since, and every kind of theory I've sort of read since has kind of added to that fascination with this film because it's very, very strange. I mean, you couldn't expect anything different from Jordan Peele. So residents in a lonely gulch of inland California bear witness to an uncanny, chilling discovery, starring Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yeun as well. I just found it just really, really engaging. Again, well written characters, an interesting threat that kind of twisted and turned, and I kind of and what eventually it ended up being revealed to be was so bizarre, unique. I just was really, really fascinated by all of it, and I think it introduces some really interesting ideas as well to what you can be scared of. Like there's particular moments in the trailer where I was like, oh, I wonder what that's going to be, and it was it was nothing to do with the main storyline, and other things in the trailer perhaps I didn't give a second thought that were really key to how things played out on screen. And also Jordan Peele's use of music and also his use of like subsequent plot threads as well, or parallel plot threads that
Mhm.
perhaps aren't don't seem like they're too related. I think that's just a really great way of doing it. And also, I think like he is, of course, we've all as many superlatives as there are, we've given them to Jordan Peele. However, I think he's an auteur. Like his filmmaking style is just exceptional, and I feel like I don't want to see him make like a main like a franchise movie or anything like that. But I'm still kind of fascinated and interested to see what he would do with a franchise movie
Yeah.
because I feel like sort of big films like that should be given to directors like this. It might not be something that he ever wants to do. He might want to make original content,
I
original
mean,
scripts.
I think aside from his obvious skill at filmmaking, what you would love to see is a franchise movie be given to someone who probably has enough credibility and clout to be able to say, no, I'm going to make this film how I want to make it, right? Like, and
Yeah,
it won't be massively interfered with by a studio and
yeah,
change what he would like it to be. Um, Oddly enough, and maybe to my shame, or maybe I've just become an absolute um wanker for like festival movies this year. Or maybe Ben, maybe I'm subconsciously very angry with Jordan Peele for going, oh, I'll tell you what, there's no scary horror podcasts. When I work on one, oh, I'm gonna come and save that one for you, will
the
I?
first hour podcast. Yeah,
Yeah, but
and a Twilight Zone.
yeah, like maybe that's a subconscious thing, but reflecting on it, there was lots to enjoy in Nope. Like it didn't hit my top 10 just based on the strength of some of the things that I did choose, and they really resonated with me. But Nope is a fantastic movie. I think it's cast incredibly well, it's produced incredibly well. There are some amazing individual standout moments for it. Maybe for me, thematically, it's the least interesting of his movies because I really, I was
Hmm.
blown away by Get Out and the delivery there. I really liked the that piece. Us might still be my favorite. I think it's his scariest movie. So from a horror
Yeah,
perspective, I think there's that. But this was a really cool, interesting sci-fi piece with all of the great production hallmarks that we see there. And again, the messages of different kinds of generational trauma and also some really good commentary on the use of animals in movies.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but didn't quite
100%.
crack my top 10. But again, a movie to be celebrated in the last year for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're getting into the top three. The real sharp end of the list. What have you got for number three, Andy?
Again, Ben, absolute festival wanker on this one again. And again, I've got to
This
play the league.
guy.
I've got to play the legal card because this is technically a 2021 film when it was released in its
I
native
feel bad now
country.
because I've only included one in my top 10. I've only
Oh,
included
it's all right.
one
This
Fright
is
Fest.
this shows how together with the most rounded horror podcast for anyone.
Yeah.
For me, number three, it stuck with me all year long. We watched it at Fright Fest Glasgow, had its original release in its native country of France in 2021, but it's become more widely available this year. We saw it at Fright Fest. It is currently available iTunes, Google Play Movies, Amazon Video, Routkin TV, and YouTube in the UK. Some like it rare, or in some international markets, you'll see it called barbecue. Your life is at stake, but spelt Steak. Sophie and Vincent's small butcher shop is on the brink of bankruptcy and their marriage is falling apart. Their lives are turned upside down when Vincent accidentally kills a vegan activist who vandalized their shop. Overwhelmed and terrified of being accused of murder, their only solution to get rid of the body is by turning it into ham. To their surprise, the ham is so popular that it may save their business. That is, if they're ready to keep, in inverted commas, hunting. The performances in this were so good. It was so funny. It's a great black horror comedy.
Mm.
Um, it was just a delight. I was smiling about it for a good couple of days after I watched this. After I watched this movie, um, I just had a blast watching it. Like, and I would. This would be something that I would go back to again and again. I haven't seen the Disney Plus Sebastian Stan
Oh
Fresh,
yeah,
which got
Fresh. No, I've not seen
which
that
got a
either.
lot of attention this year, and I feel like I haven't rushed to watch that because I was like, well, I've seen a really good movie that has a very similar theme already,
Mm.
and just on paper, I'm like, is this a remake or is this like a whole Armageddon Deep Impact situation where these things have just come out incidentally at around the same time and have some
Yeah,
similarities despite having no
sounds like that,
relation
doesn't
to
it?
each
Yeah.
other. But yeah, I had a blast with this film, and it
Mm.
is something that I think it's one of those rare occasions where I try to limit the physical media I have right now just for space and all those other things, and also how regularly you might end up rewatching some of these things. I know a lot of people, particularly in horror, tend to really look to keep those collections strong because you never know when something's going to become unavailable digitally.
Mm. I think
I
we
try, I
chose
try,
it as our film of Fright
I think it
Fest
was a film of
Glasgow,
Fright
didn't we?
Fest Glasgow,
Me and
and
Luke.
it's still stuck with me. And I think this may be one just because it's a smaller player. You know, for example, I don't think there'll ever come a time when Halloween isn't available to get places. Whereas this one, like I might look for a physical copy, so I've got it because I found it really, really enjoyable. I would recommend anyone watch this, particularly if you're not shy of a foreign movie and having the subtitles on. There's a
Mm.
lot of fun to be had with this one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Good choice. Okay, so my number three is Prey.
Oh
The
shit! I've really
Predator.
dropped the ball not putting that on there.
The Predator prequel. It could be an honorable mention. The Predator prequel. The Predator prequel Prey. I think we did the
Predator
same
prequel
joke.
Prey. Yeah,
Predator prequel Prey. Which is on Disney Plus now. You can watch it. I just think that performance by Amber Mid Thunder was so good that I was completely enamored by the whole scenario. And directed by Dan Trachtenberg, obviously did 10 Cloverfield Lane as well. I think that's 2 and 2, like really, really good movies. That, this takes place in 1719. Predator comes down, fight going up against Comanche warrior, Amber Mid Thunder, who plays Naru. Just really liked it. Just thought the action was great. Kind of captured a bit of the vibe of the original while also combining it with something like, I don't know, like The Revenant. It kind of reminded me of that sort of unforgiving nature with animals, which chuck a predator in there. There's a bear, obviously, as well. chuck a Predator
Yep.
in there, and there's some nice homages to the original as well. It felt like the first Predator in the first movie from a Predator franchise that kind of like had its real own identity as well as easily paying homage to the original. I feel like, I mean, Predator 2 is good as well. I like Predator 2. But I feel like Predators was almost like, again, a good film, but kind of always a wink and a nod towards the other one. And let's not talk about The Predator or Alien versus Predator or Alien or the sequel to
Yeah,
that, whatever. Yeah.
any of that
No,
stuff. No.
I feel like this is the first time that I kind of really did. And it's got a dog as well. There's a dog.
As I say, that is
And
the highlight for me. That dog is such an excellent dog in that one. I think there was someone who I was talking to who was like, I need to find out if the dog's going to die before I can sit and watch this.
yeah,
I will give. I think this one's a kind spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched Prey. The dog is fine. Just get and watch it.
yeah.
And
This is
watch
just
Prey.
like, it felt like a sort of back to basics movie as well. I kind of felt like that's what the franchise needed. It needed to put one Predator somewhere going up against essentially one person. I know obviously there's a lot of other people who get caught in the crossfire, but I just thought it really nailed it for me. And that sort of thing I'm talking about, there are a lot of major releases on my list, but things that it really did nail, just
Yeah,
like in terms of movies that I was really anticipating. So like I'm talking about Nope and I'm talking about Prey as well, films that I was really looking forward to that I was really pleased with. So yeah,
I
I'll
think
get
Prey was potentially the best franchise movie that we just had in the last year that didn't disappoint me at all. If
yeah,
anything,
I think you're
exceeded my
right.
expectations had for it. Let me retroactively excuse myself for not putting it on my top 10 by saying I really consider it a sci-fi action movie, Ben.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Congo before it. It's a bit of
Yeah.
a yeah. I definitely didn't forget to put what was a really brilliant film in my top 10. It was just that
I
I
see.
think of it as an action film,
I see.
and you
That's
got to
right.
be
Yeah.
you got to be harsh with these rules. But
I
I
can do that.
yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I think happily would watch that again. But I very rarely return to watch a non Jurassic Park film for a second time.
Yeah. Okay. And now we move on to number two.
My
And
number two, let me just bring up the things here.
oh dear.
Barbarian. Some
Oh,
stay for a night, some stay for a week, some never leave. In town for a job interview, a young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night, only to find it's been mistakenly double booked, and a strange man is already staying there. Against a better judgment, she decides to stay the night anyway, but soon discovers there is much more to be afraid of in the house than the other house guest. You can watch this on Disney Plus in the UK right now.
it's on bloody Disney Plus. So we covered this a bit on our Fright Fest episode because um Lucy saw it at Fright Fest. Me and you
Yes, she
didn't.
did.
Um, and then I think we've discussed it since then. We've never done an episode on it. However, I think we discussed it here and there on what we've been
It
watching.
might be worth we give it a little while to cool off, and everyone who's heard us talk about it now has forgotten all about it, and we maybe do a future episode on it because I had a blast with this. Did it crack your top 10, Ben?
It sure did, but I haven't mentioned it yet.
Oh,
So after discussing it now, I'll say you got to go into it completely blind. I feel like um, there may be spoilers potentially on the visual side of things of this podcast, so I apologize for that. But go into it blind if you've not seen it. Um, I think yeah, it's just one of those films that's wildly entertaining, totally unexpected, and I feel like one of the reasons I've put it so high in my list is because I was like my mouth was wide open on like more than one occasion. I couldn't believe it, and I feel
yeah,
like any film. I think Justin Long is vastly. I was going to say underappreciated, but I think he is getting appreciated now as this horror genre, a very unconventional. Um, I've seen people call him a scream queen, but obviously his roles in movies like Jeepers Creepers and Tusk, and now this, all completely different,
mm-hmm.
and all great in their own way. And I feel like this film is just one of those films where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next, and whatever happened next had me just like aghast. I couldn't
You're
believe
right.
it.
This is why
Um,
it's so high up for me. There were several moments in Barbarian where I audibly gasped and like sat back as like something happened. I don't want to spoil anything. Justin Long is fantastic. Bill Skarsgård is completely separately cast from anything he's done before, and that it was I really
Yeah,
appreciated that because it gives you the feeling that the movie makers wanted to have. Georgina Campbell as the lead character Tess is brilliant throughout. Again, a movie that I came into knowing nothing. I think this is true of a number of movies, certainly from my side, ones that I recommended this year. As knowing as little about them as possible is such to the movie's benefit. The same is true of Stalker, possibly Menu, Run Sweetheart Run, Do Not Disturb,
mm,
any number of those ones, and a couple of my honourable mentions will come to as well. Know as little as you can, go and watch them,
yeah.
and I think
I mean,
you'll get a lot out of it.
going into this, I was kind of a bit like I kind of expected something like The Rental. There's a movie from 2020 called The Rental, which is like an Airbnb set horror movie. I was expecting something like that, and just the way it panned out was insane. Like it's a really insane film, and I think that's why it's one of my favorite. I mean, I would have liked to see it in the cinema, I think, but I didn't get to. However, I highly recommend it as like just one of those horror films that's just gonna. I think if anybody says, because sometimes the normies, I was going to say sorry to the normies, but you're not going to be listening to a horror movie podcast if you're a normie. Sometimes the horror movie normies, sometimes the normies say, "Hey, Ben, you're into horror movies, aren't you?" And I go, "Oh, yeah, I've got a podcast of over 250 episodes, actually." They go, "Well, what's a good horror movie then?" This is like a perfect example of a film to just really fuck people
Yeah.
over in a good
And
way, in a good way.
the thing that you've got about this as well is that, especially when you're talking to those bloody normies, I think a film that is really accessible and is good for anyone to be able to sit down and enjoy as a horror movie. There are a couple of things I will talk about in disappointments of the year, which there may be some good things about them, but I think they lack that accessibility. Or, for example, a film that was in your top 10 and I highly enjoyed as well, like Men.
Mm.
I think you sit some people down to that movie and they might say, what is this? What have you put on for me? I don't immediately get it. I think this is a film that you can immediately get, has a very relatable scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The scares that it brings are really effective. I think this is a great accessible horror movie. And you talk about making it accessible. It's on Disney Plus, which a lot of people have. The idea that this type of movie and the menu and things like that are just on this platform that you wouldn't have to be a horror fan necessarily to have,
Yeah,
but you know, you could be into your Marvel or your Star Wars or Little Mermaids, and all of that's all of this is there for you as well now. It's a great
get
time to get into it.
get get yourself on a barbarian as well, for God's
Yeah,
sake. Uh, okay, so that's your number two. My
that's
number
the number
two
two.
is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh
For
wow,
reasons we've obviously already discussed. Where was it on your list? Number
it was
nine, number
my
eight?
number nine. Yeah,
Just obviously, I've already mentioned why I enjoyed it so much. I'll just explain why it's on number two. Just a completely, and I think I'm the same with Barbarian, which I've already mentioned, which we just discussed. A completely unexpected good time, and I think that's why I feel I think so fondly of that and Barbarian. Is I kind of went into it thinking, all right, let's see what this has got to offer, and just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it shocked me at every turn. And I think there's a lot of horror movies that tend to come out, which kind of hit a lot of the same beats, and those are the films that I find myself not getting on with as much. I feel like because as people who watch so many horror movies, you can get really tired of those beats and films hit certain marks at certain points. You've got three acts and you know what to expect. By the end of Act One, you're like, okay, I know where this is going now, and it does. And Act Three, okay, well, yeah, what is it? Just the good guys win, etc., etc. Both Bodies, Bodies, Bodies and Barbarian were completely unexpected good times, and I feel like those are my favorite types of cinematic experience. And Bodies, 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 I saw on the big screen as well, so that
yeah,
was good.
same.
Watching with a crowd. Yeah, obviously we already discussed it. So, what's your number one, Andy?
You know what, Ben? It's one that I mentioned was on there. We haven't got a chance to cover yet. Much like you, we've covered my number one movie. It was Deadstream.
Oh, your
I
number one was
Yeah.
Deadstream. Okay, wow.
And to be fair, I will be very open with this one. You could probably flip around my top five, and I moved it around so many times. The margin between almost my entire top 10 is very narrow this year. I think you catch me on the right day, and any of them could have been number one. I put Deadstream where I did because I just came away from it really re-energized about found footage, incredibly impressed by the filmmaking for such a small team,
Hmm.
really valuing my Shudder account at that moment,
Yeah.
and yeah, just absolutely delighted by the movie I'd just seen. Um, yeah, like if you
High
talked about
plaudits indeed.
Barbarian being a really accessible, yeah, if you talked about Barbarian being a really accessible horror movie for anyone, the bloody normies, I think
Oh
Deadstream
God.
is a great recommendation for a horror fan that's just a bit bored of the normal stuff
Yeah,
that's been
and
coming
probably
out.
a bit bored of like found footage as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it absolutely delightful. And yeah, I'm looking forward to we saw that team with that one, probably my favorite section of the latest VHS movie.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of things that I enjoy in my horror. We have a little bit of humor, but they don't back down on the scares. There's a physicality about some of that movie, which has like Bruce Campbell Evil Dead levels of, slapstick moving about and really frenetic kind of action, which I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed. So yeah, that's why it's so high for me.
Mm.
Yeah, there's my top 10. How about you, Ben? A new mention for number one?
Well, no, my pick for number one is Barbarian. Yeah, just because for all the reasons we discussed, and also like after we discussed it and Lucy had seen it at Fright Fest, I was a bit like, I kind of need to watch it because I feel like it was one of those which was getting a lot. I cannot believe I managed to avoid so much of it, considering all the people I follow on Twitter, like all the horror fans I follow on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter. But everyone was not dropping any spoilers, which was nice, and everyone was really um again mixed reviews on it. Initially I was a bit like, okay, this is quite fascinating, but yeah, probably my favorite, well, sorry, definitely my favorite horror movie of 2022, but probably one of my favorite like film going experiences of all genres, just based on how long it stayed with me as well. So yeah, I mean, I've got to recommend Barbarian if you've not seen it, but yeah, that's my number one.
Brilliant.
So we've got some honorable mentions. I guess let's not discuss the honorable mentions in as great detail as we did our top 10. Let's kind of, I don't know how you
Quickly
feel about this.
bash them out.
Quickly bash them out and explain, I guess just explain briefly why they didn't make the top 10, but also why they make your honorable mentions.
Right. Do you want to go first, Ben? And do you want to round robin it, or do you just want to go through your list?
Uh, let's do a little just do a little round robin. Why not? My
Right.
first choice on honorable mentions is Cult of VHS. I spoke to producer Aaron Truss about this movie, which we watched at Fright Fest, and I thought I'd include it in my honorable mentions. It's definitely in my top. I made a list of like top 25 favorite movies of the year, and it does go into that. Um, I just think it's a really good love letter to VHS and VHS collectors. Not something I am, but something I've kind of fascinated by, and I love sort of like old media as well. So to see collectors of it is really fascinating, and you know me, love a documentary.
You love
Um,
a good
it's not a
lengthy
long one. It's not a
documentary.
lengthy one.
It's a regular size one.
But I've included Cult of VHS. I've also included Pennywise, the story of it, as another documentary inclusion, because I think that was great as well. A lot of great behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, so if you're a horror fan and you kind of want to get some more behind the scenes content as well as your movies, Cult of VHS and Pennywise, the story of it,
And
definitely worth a shout.
and I'll throw it out there as well. I think if you haven't already heard it, go and listen to the interview episode where Ben talks to Aaron, and you really get the passion for the subject in the collection. And come and listen to the episode if you haven't already. If this is where you're finding us for the first time. Um, Aaron and Video Store Kev come and join us for a Night of the Creeps episode earlier this year.
Yeah,
Probably one of my favorite recordings of the last year, a film I hadn't seen before
Yeah, me
and
too. And you?
such great insights that they both had to it, and you could see the passion for that era in particular of horror movie.
I think any bonus content we've done for any of the Fright Fest movies mentioned today are as well worth checking out as well if you want to find out more about the films. Honourable mention for you, Andy?
Um, a fairly recent watch, a movie called Slashback. So it's presented as Slash, then an actual slash, and then back, directed by Nyla Inuksuk. These aliens mess with the wrong girls. Remote Arctic community, a group of Inuit girls fight off an alien invasion while trying to make it to the coolest party in town.
Oh
This
wow.
almost very, very narrowly, if I hadn't miscounted how many films I'd already put in my top 10, this probably
Yeah.
would have been in there. So it is in the UK, it's available on Shudder. So you can watch
Yeah.
it there already, get the most out of that subscription.
I
A
don't think I've even
young
heard. I
cast.
don't think I've even heard of this.
It's funny. It's funny. It's really well made. It's a lot of fun. Again, shout out to the folks in Nightmare on Film Street. I think this might have been in John's top 10
Oh,
this year.
okay.
It's how I found out it existed. I probably watched it the same day I heard his top 10, and it
Oh wow.
very
Okay.
nearly cracked mine. It's a good blast. It's got some good horror comedy vibes to it. And again,
Yeah.
a really young, promising cast. You already spoke about with examples like The Black Phone. Younger
Yeah.
actors can sometimes make or break a movie. In this case, they made it. I really liked them, and um, genuine dialogue for having like the way that kids talk to each other. There are some great bits where they don't have the punchiest lines. They are just awkward teenagers standing around at a party. Yeah, I had a real blast with this movie.
Amazing. I'll
What's
check that
next
out
on
as well.
your honorable list, Ben?
So this movie, I've had the same sort of problem I had with the menu where I was like, oh, do I really want to call it a horror? Now, genres listed, it does say horror. However, this is like a coming of age road movie with horror elements. Now, part of me, while we've been doing this list, part of me is thinking, oh, I should have probably kept it in my list because if it is in my list, it's number one.
Oh,
But if it's not in my list, it's just an honorable mention. So Bones and All, the movie starring Taylor Russell and Timothy Chalamet and Mark Rylance in a role which has to be seen to be believed. I think Mark Rylance's performance in this, and basically the two characters are cannibals. Cannibals exist in this world in this road movie.
yeah.
One's a drifter, the other one's kind of like running from her past. And they've got this. It almost feels like a vampire movie in a way, I guess, because they've got this like urge to eat people that they kind of need to satisfy. It's not like they can just do it for a bit and then pick it up later and then maybe give it up. I'm going to go cold turkey, for example. Can't do that. But yeah, just some really great performances, a really great human story, despite the fact that they're also cannibals. And yeah, Mark Rylance with a performance of him like a character that kind of initially reminded me of Rose the Hat from
Okay.
Doctor Sleep, but then as time went on, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Stanley Tucci in Lovely Bones. So yeah, part of me is thinking maybe I should have included it in my top 10. But in terms of movies, this is my second favorite movie of the whole year, all genres.
Wow.
But in terms of Barbarian was my third. So if I was going to include it in a horror list, it's my favorite. So directed by Luca Guadagnino, who directed Call Me by Your Name, but also the Suspiria remake,
Okay.
which I think you probably would call a horror film. I think,
Where
as I
can I
said,
watch Bones and All?
so Bones and All is available at the moment. I'm just trying to see where it's streaming actually. It's definitely on. It's definitely on demand now. So you can stream it at home on. I think it's on Hulu. Hulu. So wherever that's streaming, you might need to get a
Your
VPN for
region may
that bad
vary.
boy.
Your region may vary.
Your region may vary, but Bones and All, yeah. I mean, so in terms of the actress Taylor Russell, she's in the Escape Room movies, and you wouldn't watch it and think she's an amazing actress. Obviously, a very good actress in Escape Room. Very well, satisfactory performance, isn't that? Absolutely unbelievable performance in Bones and All, where and like it is genuinely. The more I describe it, the more I'm thinking it's a horror film. Genuinely gruesome in places where I am a bit like, oh Jesus, because it doesn't dress up the gore and doesn't dress up the violence in a way where it's supposed to be like, oh, so romantic because they're both cannibals and they also love each other. It doesn't dress it up in that way. It's kind of like really like something quite animalistic about it, and that's why it kind of reminded me a bit of a vampire movie, despite the
Okay.
fact it's not. But yeah, Bones and All, highly recommended. Yeah,
Great. My next honorable mention goes to Resurrection. So Rebecca Hall, Tim Roth,
oh yeah,
maintain control. A woman's carefully constructed life is upended when an unwelcome shadow from her past returns, forcing her to confront the monster she's evaded for 2 decades. Again, loving relationship stuff this year. And after seeing her in a not a 2022 movie by any stretch of the imagination, The Deep House,
mm.
Rebecca Hall is an incredible actor.
Yeah,
She
she's
is
great.
so such physical and pain performances. If you look, I'm going to talk about The Deep House rather than Resurrection now, but you've seen The Deep House, right? I think you saw it before I did.
Yeah, yeah,
The delivery of a particular conversation she has at a parent teacher conference when a parent's about to kick off because they didn't give her kid a good mark, and the
yeah.
power of the delivery on that one. There's a scene in Resurrection where someone asks what she's upset about, and she tells the story of the history of this past. She's such a strong actor in terms of delivering these things,
Mm.
and the film may be a little bit heavy on the metaphors for some, but it's incredibly well done. It's incredibly dark content material. Let me see where it's available to watch right now. Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Routkin, YouTube. Take your name, pick your poison. It's a great movie to watch. And again, it's the relationships and the toxicity of those relationships. Tim Roth is incredibly
Oh, I
chilling
love
and
Tim Roth.
controlling
Yeah,
as a character as well. Um, yeah, it was a really, really great movie. Again, if we were doing a top 20 this year, on there easy.
nice one. Okay, next one is I've included. So I'm going to discuss a couple of Taiwanese movies.
Oh, okay.
Um, one is in another category, but this one is Incantation, which is on Netflix. They're inspired by the true story of a family who believe they are possessed by spirits. This film follows a woman who will protect her child from a curse. Um, this film really takes its time to like allow the terror to grow, and it works wonders because when the scares start arriving, they're really really effective, and it's just like unconventional but relentless. And in terms of like the atmosphere, it really does build um this an atmosphere with it really takes its time with certain story elements as well in terms of and again it's found footage, so you do kind of think the same problems arise when you're watching a found footage movie. Why are you still filming? With this, you kind of make sense. It has a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all those films try to frame it in a way like that, but yeah, really effective. And there are probably two or three really good spine chilling moments. Just and it was weird as well, you know. And I like the weird.
Made a little note of Incantations, add that to my list.
Hell yeah. What's
Um,
have you got another one?
yeah, I've got another couple for you, Ben. I think, you know what, I'll rattle these off pretty quickly. Let me just go through. So the next one I'm going to give you is Moloch, another Shudder film that you can catch over there.
Oh, okay.
Family history may haunt you forever. Beatrix lives at the edge of a peat bog in the north of the Netherlands when she and her family are attacked by a random stranger one night. Beatrix seeks out to find an explanation. The more she digs, the more she becomes convinced that she's being haunted by something ancient. Um, yeah, sort of vibes of Hereditary in this one. There's incredible hauntings, there's prophecies, there's some folk horror to it.
Hmm,
Um,
okay.
yeah, say no more. Probably one of the most affecting and scary movies I've watched this year. Some horrific imagery and some of that all encompassing inevitability of some of the horrors that people face.
Yeah. I'll add that to my list as well.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and for my final honorable mention is going to be just because I want to include something a little bit different is Werewolf by Night. So I thought a Marvel kind of family friendly horror that really takes homage from obviously classic Universal monster movies. It's in black and white as well, and the inclusion of a certain character that I think a lot of people have wanted to see on
Mm-hmm.
in some sort of adaptation for a while, and the way he is used is fantastic. So yeah, I think yeah, just a really good. It's like an hour long as well, so it's kind of like a sort of special rather than a movie, I guess. But thought I just wanted to include that as something a little bit different to the other stuff we've talked about.
I will. That's great. Like I've not disagreed. Anything that I've seen that you've recommended, Ben, I would never disagree with. I think that's another great
You
choice.
can.
No, I wouldn't say nah, that's shit, mate. No, that's Werewolf by Night was a great little pick for a little treat for Halloween.
Yeah,
Last couple for me. I'll tell you what, I'll do a twofer.
yeah.
Revealer, I
Two
had
for
a
one.
lot of fun with, so that is I don't have that synopsis up in front of me. Again, you can watch Revealer on Shudder. Basically, a woman who works in a peep show booth
Ah, yeah.
and
Okay.
a fundamental like religious campaigner that campaigns against the peep show thrown together in an alliance when there is a rapture that goes on. It's by comic book writer. I will pull it up so I can actually credit them properly.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I believe there is a comic book version. Luke Boyce is the writer director of that one. Tensions rise when a stripper and religious protester are trapped together in a peep show booth and must come together to survive the apocalypse in 1980s Chicago. It's on Shudder. It's low budget thrills. It is. I had a good time watching this, and again, another reason to have a really good time with that Shudder subscription this year. My
Yeah.
other piece, I couldn't go a year without mentioning a little bit of Trauma.
Oh,
Eating
of
Miss
course.
Campbell, the new Trauma movie. I did a review of this after I watched it. Anyone who tells you that lampshading your cliches doesn't excuse them within your genre isn't using lampshades big enough, and this one has lampshades for days. It's what you'd expect from a trauma movie. It pulls no punches. It goes out of its way to be provocative or offensive in some levels. The gore is over the top. It is self-referential. Trauma have their own streaming service that you can pick those up on if you don't want to pick them up physically. Um, I had a lot of fun with this. You never don't have fun with a trauma movie. There are, I imagine, all sorts of pockets of the world for whom they are not the movies for them. Because they like your Jordan Peele levels of polish, or you know, to not touch on all of that subject material. But I had a real good time with Eating Miss Campbell, and that is the
Amazing.
end of my honourable mentions
And
for
that's the end of
this
that
year.
chapter. Again, don't want to dwell on the negatives, so we will rattle through these disappointments fairly quickly and why. I'm just going to do them all in one go because I don't want to dwell, Andy.
Yeah,
Don't
do
want
it,
to
Ben.
dwell.
Do it.
Disappointments. I'm going to include. First of all, I'm going to go for Scream 5 Cream. The reason being,
Mm-hmm.
I was very, I was very excited for this, and after I watched it, I think I was a bit like, it was all right. Um, I barely remember anything about it, and I, even though I'm definitely looking forward to Scream 6 because they've kind of taken it in a completely, put it in New York, which is great. I don't know, 5 Cream. Now I'm thinking back to it, I'm like, obviously a major character gets killed off. A major character, some major characters that maybe should have been killed off don't get killed off because they get killed off by the bloody script writers in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Not officially, but unofficially. I feel pretty disappointed about it. And the fact we're getting another one sort of like a year later, hopefully, is going to be redemption for that. In terms of big franchise movies, I kind of feel the same with Halloween Ends, even though I think I preferred it to Kills. I think overall, in terms of a finale for that particular arc of Michael Myers' story, disappointing. Also, going to include Smile in that because I think a lot of people like Smile. A lot of people seem to be giving it a lot of plaudits. People saying it's genuinely scary or unique or anything like that. Nope, didn't do it for me.
For me,
Um,
I agree with you, Ben. Smile was it gave away its best bit in its trailer. Trailer like Smile for me was killed by trailer makers.
Killed by trailer
Um,
makers and
killed by
probably
trailer makers, and it was a dream too many times.
the most by the numbers. scary film of the year for me, I think. Also, The Sadness. I've already mentioned a Taiwanese. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure it's Taiwanese. Sadness. Mentioned a Taiwanese movie that did it for me. In Incantation, The Sadness, just really kind of mean spirited and nasty and horrible. And yeah, I kind of understand what it was going for, but no substance to it. Disappointed in that, considering how interested I was after watching the trailer. And also Orphan First Kill. Yeah, just no,
Don't like Lena
a
Klammer and a big
just a real
Dilfant
dud.
energy.
Just a real dud for me. The fact that it's clearly a woman who's been de-aged and it's supposed to be a prequel just took me out of it completely. And the biggest disappointment for me of the whole year, Resident Evil TV show didn't even make it past episode 3.
Oh, I
And you
know,
know
Ben. That
what?
must have stung.
And you know me, completionist.
Well,
Got to finish it.
you got through the animated series, right? And I gave up. I managed to fall asleep in the first episode
animated series
thrice.
wasn't animated series wasn't great either. After Welcome to Raccoon City last year, and now this TV show, it leaves me really thinking, what is next for Resident Evil? Is there going to be anything? The fact it's been cancelled already as well. Um, I don't know what to say about it. Apart, there's no point me going into anything critically and trying to sort of make an argument for why it was so bad. It was just terrible, and I've seen clips of it from episodes I haven't seen, and I'm glad that I didn't finish it. And I know you finished it all,
Oh,
Andy, and you made
I'm a big
and you.
defender of it. I like that it was different.
Is this a horror hangout disagreement on the episode?
Oh, I don't disagree so strongly that I wouldn't. I don't think that. Well, Ben, why don't you like this?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's brilliant TV. I
There's a
in,
bit where is there a bit where someone's dancing to Dua Lipa song?
there is some dancing. I don't know if it's to Dua Lipa, but my favorite is when one of the. I mean, do you care about spoilers for?
Hell no.
Well, in that case, at one point there are three Wesker clones around at the same time, and it's like called Albert, Bertie, and like Al or something like that. And the great quote
That
from
kind
one of
of
it
interesting.
is, "I choose breadsticks" is one of my
Oh yeah.
favorite lines from that. And there's some real madness to it. There's a couple of cool action scenes. I kind of like that they embraced making it doing something a little different with it. I don't think it was perfect. I don't remember a lot of it now. I've seen it a couple of weeks later, but there were some cool ideas in
Can't
that
forgive it
thing.
for the Zootopia porn line, right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, God.
I forgive them for it. That's how people talk. It's bodies, bodies, bodies over again. That's how the kids
I
talk nowadays, Ben.
I think yeah, but that's a perfect example. Bodies, bodies, bodies. I can
Really
watch that
sharp. Yeah.
if somebody that's incredibly sharp. Whereas with Resident Evil was like, what? What are these people saying? There's no
Yeah.
way.
It's true. You can pay out on that one, I think.
I'm probably the worst audience for it because unfortunately, as a big fan of as a big fan of the games, I've got a very specific idea of what I want from Resident Evil. I don't want to be that guy where I'm like, I won't know it till I see it. I kind of do know it, and I feel like it always takes aim in a different direction. And I respect any filmmaker or any writer or creator who does that with an established franchise. However, so wide
Yeah.
of the mark
I
for
think
me.
you can say it. We're not going to dwell on the negatives too long, but I think you can critique something, and I don't think we've ever had the approach that we've said, it's because this filmmaker or anyone involved in the
Yeah,
process is shit at their job, apart from faceless companies when it's a studio interference thing. Um, yeah, it worked for some people. It didn't work for a lot of folks. I think my best argument and defense of the Resident Evil series I can give is that it was a great second series waiting to happen with the right hand on it.
but give me a second series, you shit. Uh,
Do you want some disappointments from me, Ben?
yeah, go on.
Like you, I think franchises really let us down this year. Five Cream was fine. I think I enjoyed it being in the cinema. I enjoyed it at the time, but you're right. Like I don't remember a lot of it coming out, and I'm more excited for six that they're doing a different approach with it and going to
Yeah,
the Big Apple.
the Big
You know,
Apple.
um,
Hmm.
I think that Halloween had a fantastic culmination of the series and the send off it deserved in 2018. And
Yeah.
then they made two more movies.
Hmm.
The majority of Halloween Ends I found was a completely different, perfectly interesting film, but it didn't need to be a Halloween. It wasn't really a Halloween movie until the last 15 minutes, and I
Yeah.
think you could have ended it more satisfyingly where we already did in 2018. I think that, and again, talk about not slamming creators here. I genuinely think that is the hubris of studios saying, "You did a really good job. Please do two more."
Yeah.
And with the best will in the world, I think you've
Mm.
painted yourself into a corner. And I'm not sure you could have ever done anything as satisfying an ending as the one you already delivered.
Yeah.
Um, Add into my disappointments as well, and not for the quality of the film. Hellraiser was really frustrating this year. I felt that by the time we got to see it in this country, because of them, let's say it, Ben, cocking about with distribution, the interest was gone for me. They released a Hellraiser movie like after Halloween. Like it
Yeah.
was the timing was really awkward. We wanted to do an episode on it, so I had to do all kinds of juggling with VPNs and friends in it, in friends in the US to let me use it so I could watch it, so we could watch it in time.
Mm.
And that kind of admin just took me
Yeah.
out of the.
I feel like after watching Hellraiser, it probably would have made my like honorable mentions possibly. However, unfortunately, again, it's another one of those which just hasn't stuck with me. And
I think they could have gone a lot harder with the stuff that they really lost the
yeah.
experience hunting and the some of the depravity of some of the characters.
Mm.
Having now watched in this very calendar year, Ben, all the
Oh
Hellraiser
yeah, of
movies,
course.
they lose it. It's not Bishop burying people in the garden and giving people hallucinations in whichever the one about the
Yeah.
video game was. Um, yeah, it's yeah, I was a little disappointed that didn't take it further, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly disappointed for the thing. And I think this goes hand in hand with this one. And again, I will say this with with an immense amount of love and respect for the film rate for the filmmakers here. I watched both Terrifier movies this year,
Oh my god, of
and I
course,
think
yeah.
there is a film. Terrifier 2 is a 2022 movie, long awaited. I think they've what they've done very successfully, and from everything I hear from you know people that we mutually know,
Mm.
fantastic, passionate filmmakers who have a great love for the genre and and a real desire to create an iconic character. I think they've done that. They've got a character that people have resonated with. But for me, the the film goes so far into delivering on all they can in gore and really extreme visuals, and it has an iconic visual character. But some of the performances are great in there. I think the physical performances from the actor that portrays Art the Clown are really good. But it lacks a bit of cohesion. It lacks a little bit of a deft touch on knowing when to cut these things. The length of the film really
Mm.
brutalized me. Like the action scenes. And I
Yeah.
feel trying to get this into a mainstream audience as well. I was like, this is what this is what people who don't like horror assume that we're all sitting around and watching all
Yeah.
the time.
I kind of felt a little bit like that. And I feel like no disrespect to any horror fans out there who like Terrifier and Terrifier 2, but this is me being judgmental. If somebody says, if I go, you like horror? Yes. What's your favorite horror film? And they say Terrifier, part of me feels like, mm, but is it? You know
But
what I mean?
yeah,
Like
but
I almost
I
feel like I don't quite believe them because I feel like it's almost like because it's super gory and over the top and disgusting and depraved, people are like that's the best horror film out there. But I'm like, but is it? I don't
yeah,
know.
and it was like I say, it was a bit long and disjointed for me. And I'm all for kind of reveling in the visuals that you want to, because it must have been incredibly fun. You must be
The
incredibly
gore
proud of
effects
those
are
things that you
outstanding. The
created.
gore effects are outstanding, 100%.
But
And
but in the same way, like if I want like it looks sometimes to shock in the same way as a guy getting his dick out on the bus might look to shock. Like not necessarily in a way that I felt like I could really enjoy because I don't know why they're doing that. Uh,
I can't
like
enjoy this.
no,
Put me
like
in a different scenario where I can enjoy a man getting his dick out.
yeah,
Not on the bus.
yeah, like it's just a bit like yeah, it was yeah, or the same way. It's like, oh, I really like this ingredient, so I'm going to chop it up into my thing, but I've chopped it up so finely that I can't even recognize that anymore.
Yeah. Again,
Like,
another sort of like I guess it was just like another mean spirited film that I think it needed something plot wise, especially the first one, which I feel like was very thin on the ground in terms of plot. It needed something like in the first one, you don't even know who you're supposed to be rooting for. People are dying
yeah,
left, right, and center. You think that's the which I think the second one does better because I think the final girl, Lauren Lavera, is great, and I feel like the
yeah,
visual of her in her sort of costume is awesome.
yeah. I think there's so much to enjoy about those films. So the disappointment for me is more about that slightly less would have made it a greater film. Like I think you could chop out half an hour, you could, if not slightly more, and just put some little deft touches like look at some of the films I've really enjoyed this year, put some of those contextual building of characters, keep a few people in it a little longer, um, and build them up, have a couple of people survive some encounters or do a little something. I think with just a little bit of self-control they could make a fantastic movie. And I know that the film creators are talking about wanting to make the third movie
Hmm.
scary, not gory necessarily. It probably still will be a gory film, but like a scary movie.
Yeah,
And I
I think
think that,
that's the supernatural thing that it
yeah,
hints to is a lot more interesting than
I think
perhaps.
that's the final thing. The final metaphor for me on this one is the same problem I have with, huge, it's not picking on the little guy in the indie creator, the same problem I have with Michael Myers at the end of Halloween Kills, Evil Dies Tonight, um, is I I kind of lose my grip on a film when the baddie just wins just because so you're invincible then, okay,
Yeah,
like
it feels like
you've won just because, okay, so you've had a terrible injury done to you, and it's not like they've crawled back for one thing. Oh, you've got up and you're fine, and
yeah,
you've just won because this is inevitable. And yeah, I didn't have an explanation for it. So like I say, not a movie that was bad. I think it's made with incredible care and craft and a great passion for the genre by people who I hear are fantastic. But it just wasn't for me for those reasons, and I was probably influenced by all the hype that was surrounding it when I finally got to see it.
yeah.
So those are my disappointments.
Um, New discoveries. So these are films that we'd never seen before, not films that came out in 2022, but films we discovered in 2022 that are probably favorites, or we're gonna keep on the circulation rotation, sorry, for regular go. Again, I'm going to rattle these off because they're all films that we covered on this podcast this
Yeah,
year
find the
with
episodes.
with a variety of guests. So we've already mentioned it, Night of the Creeps, with Aaron Truss and Video Store Kev. Loved that first watch, really good
Yeah,
fun.
loved it.
Silver Bullet with our guest Janine Pipe. Another really good, fun film that I'm probably going to watch regularly. A great Stephen King adaptation as well. The Rage, Carrie 2, with Kim
Oh
Morrison.
yes,
It's really, really unexpected. Like I've kind of just expected it to be like, middle of the road is going to be all right, and it's not
I
going
thought
to
it
be
was going to be
amazing.
actively bad, but I really enjoyed it.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Probably insane that this is the first time I've seen this film. However, it is probably my favorite of all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And what a great theme. And then also The Changeling, an episode I did this year with John Crinnan. Really spooky ghost story. Really atmospheric. Loved it. All of those.
Yeah, loved all those episodes. Other things I will mention, haven't done episodes on them. At least one of them I think we should, but films I saw for the first time this year that I loved. Turbo Kid. I'd say it's
Ah,
gory enough to be a horror movie. Loved it. Brilliant. Big Psycho Gorman energy. Body Double, a great thriller. So good. Body Double was brilliant. Um, Little Monsters I saw for the first time this year. The Peter Nyong'o can do no wrong. It is such a fun movie and actually very sweet, as well as being a movie full of loads of horrible zombies trying to get a school classroom for the kids, where they're on a field trip to a lovely farm. And last, and I think you just mentioned former guest Janine who joined us for Silver Bullet. I've been trying to think of the next movie to invite her on, and we talked about it this year. The movie that made me confirm that if people say that werewolves aren't the horniest monster, then you haven't seen The Howling 2,
Oh God,
colon,
yeah,
Your Sister is a Werewolf, alternatively, Strieber Bitch. That movie, what a blast. Christopher Lee in his wraparound shades. What an absolute time. Um, yeah, great watches for the first time this year.
amazing. What a list. Okay, and then well, we were going to mention TV and games, but to be fair, now I'm trying to review things. I've not. There've been a lot of horror TV this year, but I've not really watched that much. I am a film guy. I do prefer to just watch a movie, one and done. Sitting down and watching a series, not for me. I do need to watch Cabinet of Curiosities. I guess Stranger Things was the
Same.
big horror thing this year. Did
I did
thoroughly
see
enjoy
that.
that.
Yep.
Did enjoy that. Did you also see 101 Scary? What's
I
it called? The Shadow film?
did watch that. The Shudder 101 scariest movie moments. It added so many films to my watch list this year. Yeah, really worth checking that out if you pick up a Shudder account. As you say, Ben, Stranger Things was the big one for this year. I really do want to watch Wednesday. I do really want to watch Cabinet of Curiosities. I did catch up on Chucky season one
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Season two came out just about a month ago now. Not sure if it's wrapped yet. It must be pretty close if it hasn't already. Um, I will catch up on that as soon as I can. But yeah, horror movies have been where it's been at for me for
Yeah.
most of this year. The same is true of games as well, right? I have started Callisto Protocol. I am currently playing the Resident Evil Village DLC, The Memories of
Oh
Rose.
yeah, I've got that too. Haven't played it yet, but I've got it as well, and I've got the
Um,
Quarry to play.
I started the quarry and then I made the decision that I now regretted, and it made me fall off it because I don't want to start it again. But I feel like the kid who was
Ah,
trying to get all of his toys out to play a game and then can't find one of them and then puts them all away again. That might have just
yeah,
been me growing up. But I will finish the quarry because I was really enjoying it before I got one of the guys killed.
yeah.
Um,
A
yeah,
game, a game for me, not released this year, but Carry On was the game that I really enjoyed. Got a cheeky platinum trophy on it as
that's
well.
good movie,
Um,
good game rather. Yeah, brilliant.
Great game. Really, really enjoyed it. Like a short, probably 6, 7 hours. Sort of platforming, puzzle based. You're a big, scary, tentacled monster, a bit
You're
like
like the
Thing.
thing, aren't you? The
You're
only
like in the
problem,
Thing, yeah.
my only disappointment with all of Carrion is that it's called like a reverse Metroidvania, isn't it? Like, but how it's a video game they didn't call it an eat 'em up is beyond me.
An eat 'em up, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been a great. Yeah, but obviously, I think 2023 is the year for horror games. And when we mention what we're looking forward to in 2023, there's loads on there. So, I guess should we get into that? The
Yeah,
2023,
what we're looking
what we're
forward
looking
to.
forward to.
Was roll straight into those games, Ben.
Roll straight into the games. Yeah, I'll rattle through these as well. So, games that coming out this year that I'm really looking forward to. Dead Space, the remake, is out at the end of this month.
Can't wait.
Everything I've seen of that, can't wait. A perfect game to give the remake treatment, as well as Resident Evil 4. Heard some rumors this week about certain sections that may be getting dropped from the game, but I have every faith in the team behind it because the Resident Evil 2 remake was pretty much perfect. Resident Evil 3 remake maybe missed some things out, was a bit shorter than expected, but still a good time. I've played that more than once. Alan Wake 2, which we've kind of has been anticipated for a long, long time, but finally confirmed last year at some E3 possibly, and then
Just after the back of the mysterious and almost unprompted re-release of the original, right? But yeah, I really can't wait for Alan Wake 2. We'll have to get Jen back on.
yeah, exactly, we will. And then of course all the Silent Hills, Silent Hill 2 as well as Silent Hill F, and that was going to be a movie. a VR thing. Is that right? A VR thing to
Yeah,
remember
why not?
right now?
VR everything.
Loads of stuff. So horror games 2023, we're going to be eating good. And also, if you enjoyed horror game by the shape of The Last of Us, in like a week, maybe just over a week, The Last of Us TV show will
Mm.
arrive. And I've heard the budget is astronomical. Pedro Pascal, and what's her name? Bella Ramsey. Is that her name?
Yeah, that's the name.
That name. That's
No,
not the name
Bella
of the
Ramsey's her
character.
in Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course. Apologies. But yeah, I'm highly looking forward to that more than anything else. Like, I don't know, but with Resident Evil the TV show, I was a bit like, what's it gonna be like? The Last of Us, you're gonna go, surely it's
Yeah.
gonna work, especially with
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal.
High hopes for this one.
Okay. So that's it in terms of games. In terms of films, I'll rattle these off as well, and you can add to them if you want. Obviously, Evil Dead Rise, you've already discussed at the top of the show.
Yep.
April, that's coming out. Looking forward to that. We've already mentioned this as well. The new Brandon Cronenberg movie, Infinity Pool.
Yep. I had that on my list.
Scream 6, Ghostface in New York. And then remakes of The Exorcist and Salem's Lot. Don't know if they're definitely coming out this year, but I'm pretty sure they're towards the end of the year. They should be out, I believe.
Yeah. Nothing else to add to that, Ben. I think you've hit the main points. Like, I think we've said it a couple of times now. Like, I was a little bit burned on franchises this year. You know what? I will add one more thing to anticipated.
Go on.
I can't wait for some more. Bearing in mind how much of their picks featured in my top list this year, can't wait to hit some festivals. Like, looking
Yeah.
forward to the Fright Fest lineup. We'll talk about that in the news in the coming weeks. Fright Fest Glasgow's lineup, if it's not out already, should be out very soon. So we'll catch up on that. Then we'll have main Fright Fest. If I can pull off traveling to both, and we can do Fright Fest in the summer as well, I'd like us to do it. There are other film festivals that are coming along as well that I want us to try and get to as many as we can and really see what people are. One of the ones we talked about it before. There's one called the Gasp Horror Film Festival, which is I think Manchester way.
Okay.
A new one that they're looking to put together, really focused on really diverse creators as well. So we know we have a number of people that we know that are working on some films in the coming year as well.
I think we'd also like to get to some conventions, whether they're horror focused or podcast focused. I think after attending Thought Bubble last year, which was obviously very comic focused, as creators, we decided that we should bring Horror Hangout on the road. So let's see when and where we can get to in the UK this year.
Yeah, I'd love to do. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to this year. I think having had a year where we've engaged more with more independent stuff, more festival things, I'd love to do more of that this year. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm excited for. We have some big franchise names that I naturally they have the history and they have the marketing behind them to help us build hype for that. But more so than anything, if the last year's been anything to go by, I'm excited to see what else new is going to come out
Yeah.
that we've never
What
seen before.
we always say it, but what a time to be a horror fan. Awesome. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know what your favorite films of the year have been. Feel free to shout at us and tell us we're silly for not including your favorite film, or agree with us fully, agree with everything we've said and done. But it's
Especially
totally up to
that.
you.
Like, I literally, criticism can go one way or another, but I will take as many emails as you want to send that say, absolutely nailed it with that, lads. Spot on.
Exactly. But at the end, but we are horror fans, and we want the genre to thrive. And whether that's big studio releases, independent creators, we want,
Yeah.
or sort of like indie filmmakers, we want the genre to keep thriving. So let's keep making it. Looking forward to this year. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons: John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, and Pazuzu. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on all these social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Next week, oh yeah, that's another thing. We've also confirmed the January lineup. So after this episode, we're going to be doing 30 Days of Night, wintry. We're trying to think of like a wintry horror movie to do, and January sometimes feels like 30 Days of Night, does it not?
It does.
It does.
It's
So we're gonna
31
be
days in January, but that's all right.
yeah, sorry, 31 Days of Night. Yeah, and then after that, we're going to be doing Megan slash Mafregan with
So excited for Mathregan.
Mafregan, returning guest Lucy as well will be joining us for that. And then finally, end of the month, a film that you've mentioned a few times on the show and you've been keen to cover, Deadly Friend, with returning guest Ed Harvey.
Tell you what, Ben, if there's two things I associate with January, it's 31 Days of Night because it's winter and it's cold, and robots.
And robots, Deadly Friends. Two lots of robots.
Yeah, double. It's a robot double bill to finish this month.
A robot double bill. We don't just cover films at random. We do cover films with some, for some reason, in relation to the wider world. And robots are terrifying, and also seasonal depression also is 31 Days a Night. 30 Days a Night.
Yeah, but we'll have an extra one because it's January.
We'll have an extra one for a laugh. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next time. See you soon.
See you soon, everyone. Bye. Oh, Ben, thanks for being a right horror dude.
Thank you for being a right horror dude as well, Andy. Sorry for forgetting you.
That's all right. Thanks everybody for being right horror dudes. Bye.